Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Eerie International, episode 473 this week. My name is David from the United States.
And I guess that makes me Dave from the UK.
It sure does, Dave. How's it going?
It's going. Yeah. It's 11 days on day of recording until Christmas. I hope everybody is well underway with their gift purchasing and wrapping. We had a little conversation before we started recording.
We did. And most of it was not about Christmas, but I won't divulge what it was about.
We were talking about my dick.
It's just for me and you, but I guess now for the audience as well.
Yeah, I had a medical procedure. It's not
a while back. I was doing some follow up.
Yeah.
Making sure the patient was okay.
Yeah, but everything's
and it was
good.
all good news.
I'm
so
A-okay.
No one worry.
I'm A-okay. Yeah, no, everything's fine. But yeah, so we were talking about Christmas, and David was telling me about the progress with his present shopping. Unusually for me, I bought all of my presents now. I just haven't wrapped them, so I'm going to be having to get underway with that. I'm very excited. I have got very little in my life to be excited about, and this will be evidence for it because I bought a new.
Depressing.
I bought a new tape dispenser the other day.
Oh hell yeah!
And it's one of these ones that it's got like a double hook underneath it, so you can hook it onto two fingers, so you can hold your presents.
Tell me
still
again, but slower, Dave.
Hmm?
I said, tell me again, but slower. I was just getting into you describing your
Let me tell you
dispenser.
in French. That'll get your motor going. But yeah, so I'm kind of interested to see how that works out. But yeah, hope everyone is on the way to getting all their Christmas sorted out.
And before we started recording, I told you that I'm woefully behind. Well, specifically woefully behind on buying presents for my son, who's typically the only person that I'm most concerned about getting presents for Christmas, obviously. But I just remembered, and I'm going to bring it up now, both because this person doesn't listen to the podcast as far as I know, and two, because it's a very British gift. But I did buy my dad's Christmas present this year, and I was very excited about how amazing of a deal that it was.
Oh, let me guess.
Okay.
Did you buy him a crushing feeling of denial and depression?
It's Brexit in a box, they call it.
Hell yeah, there we go.
It's really going to bring the holidays down over here. No, it's during Black Friday I saw, in fact I think this was the only thing I bought for Black Friday, but they had a huge box set. I don't remember what the normal price is, but it is literally 10 thick ass volumes of all of the writing, all the books that Winston Churchill did about World War II. I think it's called the Second World War, the series. Yeah. Which I don't know how liked or not liked he is in the UK. So I don't know. I'm not trying to be like it's very British, but it just made me think of it because my dad and I were talking about his writings in the past. And anyway, this box set was like $40 or something. It was super cheap.
Oh damn.
But yeah, now that I'm saying this, I'm like maybe this is like a cultural place of shame. I have no context for Winston Churchill and.
So Churchill being the guy that led us through World War II, he is revered by many. There are things about him that are like anyone. He's a human being.
Even this set, I looked it up ahead of time, and my dad's like a massive history, World War II, like different wars. Like he's always been into that. He's very much a dad. I saw F1 with him in the theater. I mean, he's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, not every way, but so I looked it up, and what I saw of the set or saw of the series was like, you know, if you're into history, if you're into this stuff, it's super interesting. It is also written by the guy who was involved, so it's at least a little biased towards himself. But my dad's also the kind of guy that would be able to read it within context and kind of know, what's maybe not. It's not written by a historian necessarily. It's written by somebody who went through it.
I can't wait until he gets to the anecdotes about Churchill hanging out of windows drunk, slandering women as they walk past.
Sweet.
There's genuinely there was a story about how he was accosted by a woman at a party. This is a very famous anecdote. And she says, "You, sir, are drunk." And he returned to her both barrels. "And you, madam, are ugly, but in the morning I shall be sober." Which
That's how we did it back in the day.
yeah, that was high class wit.
Yeah, I grew up. I remember like we had a paperback novelization of a TV movie in our library that was the young Winston Churchill. I don't even know if it was a British production. It was probably American, but that image for some reason has always been imprinted in my mind. Dude, this has been a week of weird like nostalgia memory imprints coming back to me hard, both because of our movie of the week, which by the way is 2003's Underworld. We'll get to that in a little bit. And then also because of multiple things I saw this week that like took me right back to being a little kid, and like stuff that I got into back then that is just not left and has not been refreshed. It's not like I've checked in, for example, spoiler alert on one of the things I'm going to bring up on the Street Fighter franchise since I was a kid. But I was talking to a friend earlier this week and was like, the amount of fucking lore and character names that are locked into my brain with that video game series. And again, it's not like I check in every once in a while to refresh my memory. Like, it's just there. It's, I don't know, probably more notable because there's also things as I get older that I start to lose. But good thing I can remember how to do, fucking special moves in Street Fighter Alpha 2. That's in there forever.
The important stuff stays with you for life, my friend.
Yeah, I guess so. We haven't mentioned our third co-host because fuck him. Who cares? Let's move on. I'm just kidding. Andi's out this week. I don't actually remember why. I don't know that he even told us, but it's okay. I mean, not that he has to, tell us what his business is. But as far as we know, he's fine. It was a planned absence. It was also his birthday. Happy birthday. But yeah, he's out this week. So with that in mind, and you know what? I've kind of this is how it goes when it's the Dave and David show. There's no rules. Shit gets off the rails quickly. I usually welcome new listeners to the show. If this is your first time listening, blah, blah, blah. If this is your first time listening, this is one of those off the rails episodes. Historically speaking, we have three co-hosts on the show, one from each different country, United States, England, and Germany. And our German compatriot is gone this week. So what Dave and I have done in the past, at least once. Have we done it more than once? Like a loose series?
I think it was just the one series, and then we had random episodes of things that we would do otherwise. But
we have a loose, interconnected series of episodes over a particular franchise, and we've done it once already with the Resident Evil film series. So if you go back in our archives, wherever you can find the episodes, maybe some of them are there, some of them aren't. I'm not sure. The episodes are all spread out. We would do the entire series in sequential order. On times that Andi would be gone. And probably even before Resident Evil, I was like, we should do Underworld because I've been a big fan of this franchise since I was a kid, since it came out. And so we did all of Resident Evil. Again, you can listen to all of those episodes sporadically over the years. And it felt like now is the time with Andi gone that we should kick off another one. And it's going to be the Underworld series starring Kate. I guess they're all starring Kate Beckinsale -1. I started to say at first. Actors start to fall off as the series goes on, and not even because of deaths. I think because of dwindling popularity and budgets. But Kate Beckinsale is the constant throughout, except for one, and even in that one, she's in it a little bit. But we'll get to that in a future episode, months from now, probably. But yeah, if it's your first time listening, normally we're a horror show. I mean, we still are this week, but we talk about horror stuff. Whether it's video games, music, movies. I don't know why I started with video games. Books, podcasts, stage plays, comics, whatever it is. Probably said a couple of those things twice. We get into it. You can find us online, different feeds around. We've been different places, websites that are now defunct, new feeds. Just Google it and you'll be able to find something on there. And then we are also on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we have a Gmail address as well. No emails this week, but if you do want to send us some longer form thoughts, feel free to do so at eerieinternational@gmail.com. I have one, before we get into what we got into this week, I have one quick bit of, I wouldn't even call it housekeeping, just I guess an update if there are any massive Brazilian horror dorks like me. We did at man, what do you love? At midnight, I forgot the title in English. At midnight, I'll take your soul. Possess.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember what it is.
I'll take your
At
soul.
midnight, I'll take your soul. Yeah, I think there is one that's possessed. This night, I'll possess your corpse. That's the sequel. The Coffin Joe Brazilian horror film. We did that last week. And I mentioned on air that it's somewhere in my house in a box, have the trilogy that they put out on DVD. During our episode last week, I got on Amazon to look and see, on the off chance that I can't find this DVD, or maybe I got rid of it and forgot, like, how much is it going to cost me to get it again? Because a lot of times especially with horror stuff, something, has a small print run, and then if you don't catch it then, you're fucked. It's $150 after that for, a 2-disc set or something. And I was very happy to find out that Arrow Video, maybe around the same time, and I just missed it, I'm not totally sure, they put out a box set. So this one's actually on Blu-ray, called Inside the Mind of Coffin Joe. And this thing is amazing. I sent Andi and Dave some pictures. So I ordered this one. And it's 4K restorations of all these movies. I figured it was going to be the trilogy. But it is in fact like 9 fucking movies. It's pretty much everything that I think that they could get their hands on by Jose Marins, and that's his name, right? Yeah, Jose Marins. And including the movies that he either was involved with or directly made, where Coffin Joe is a character in it, but in like a metafictional way. So it's not just the actual Coffin Joe films, but it is all of those. And then a fucking shitload, excuse my French, of special features. This set is amazing. So I was very excited about this. And just on the off chance that anyone was listening to that episode and wanted to check it out, or liked the movie and wanted to buy it, if you are interested, I think especially in this case where it is something that is so specific and also so probably limited in availability. I don't mean necessarily the print run of this Blu-ray. It's still on Amazon. You can still, buy it pretty easily. But just in terms of accessing these films outside of Brazil, I would imagine is probably pretty tough, I'm guessing. So anyway, thought I would throw that out there if anyone is interested. It's called Inside the Mind of Coffin Joe is the name of the box set. And Butcher Billy did all the artwork. If anyone's familiar with him, he does, I don't know if it's a he, this person does amazing paintings and mixed media, multimedia, whatever kind of art. And so there's three Blu-ray cases inside the box. And then each sleeve has reversible art for 2 or 1 or 2. It would have to be 2 for 1. And of the films. And it all looks fantastic. So just a dorky update I wanted to throw out there for everyone. With that in mind, let's get into some more dorky updates this week. Dave, kick us off. What did you get into that you want to throw out there? I always say spooky related because we try to keep it to horror stuff, but Andi's not here, so who gives a shit? Let's talk about football, wrestling, whatever you want. What did you get into this week that you enjoyed?
Well, I've not been watching much wrestling because of I've not really gone into detail about it, but I'm kind of going cold turkey on WWE. They announced that they were going to be doing a WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, and that was kind of the last straw for me. Among other things, I mean, there's
among many other last straws.
So many fucking issues with that company right now. Ticket pricing, their ties to the US government. Just too many things to count. But honestly, like, the Saudi announcement was the thing that tipped me over the edge. Before, I could just ignore the Saudi shows; they were inconsequential. Now we're talking about them holding their biggest show of the year in a country that I really cannot support the ruling government or monarchy of.
My version of this was not that I don't like wrestling, because I definitely do. I don't follow it as closely as you and Andi do, but I love pro wrestling as well. I got into it way late in life, and as you know, obviously, I've come to you with many questions over the years and context and everything. But the thing that I'm more plugged in with is stand-up comedy, and they had their version of this not too long ago, the Riyadh Comedy Festival, and a lot of comedians really showing their asses on
a lot of them
where they stand. And a lot of them where I was like, this is disappointing, but I also didn't necessarily this doesn't necessarily surprise me. But then there were some in there, I'm not going to go through all of it because obviously you're talking about wrestling here, but there were some in there where I was like, man, this fundamentally changes how I feel about you as a comedian. Like your Your material has always been in this particular vibe and lane, and you have fucked that for yourself. You have no foot to stand on anymore now with this shit. And talking about it in the future, I hope people never forget about this. Like, I hope, and I don't think people will. Like, there was a lot of backlash. So, yeah, it's, I can at least understand the, some of the emotional frustration with this stuff, because it seems very easy to not do. And it also seems very clear, and I would imagine this is the case for the WWE as well, that enough money is thrown at them and their integrity vanishes. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's very much the case. Also, they announced this week that the World Cup is now going to be following in the footsteps of TKO with their ticket pricing structure. TKO, who are the parent company of WWE and UFC, have overseen massive price rises on tickets. To the point where even if I didn't have my issues with the company leading me to stop watching already, I would never be able to go to a WrestleMania in my life because I wouldn't be able to afford it. It just isn't possible anymore. The World Cup have decided, FIFA more specifically, have decided that they're going to follow in those footsteps. David, would you like to guess at how much the cheapest seat at the World Cup final in America is going to be next year?
The cheapest, so we're talking like nosebleed shit. Sounds like.
Yeah. And for just for ease of use.
Yeah, give me a point of comparison.
So cheapest ticket at the World Cup final in 2022 was $206.
Okay. That's honestly cheaper than I expected for a normal, quote unquote, normal price.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still obviously very steep, but okay. So then now the point of comparison, the question is, the cheapest seat at the final. Is it at even the final of the upcoming World Cup?
Yes.
Okay. My first guess was going to be 500, but now that seems not inflated enough based off of that. But I could be wrong.
So the cheapest tickets for the World Cup final, I can't believe this, £3,120 or $4,185.
That is insanity.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. So people are being priced out of the things that they love, and FIFA has absolutely no fucking integrity whatsoever. We're going to have a World Cup in Saudi Arabia before too long because they'll just get a brown envelope under the door saying, please give it to us. And they'll say, yeah, go on then. We will.
I'm going to sound, well, this fits because I'm the American on the show. I'm going to sound ignorant. I don't remember. Is the World Cup in the U.S. this coming?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, shit. I forgot about that.
And that kind of highlights the problem that the World Cup in the US has, which is not only are they charging astronomical rates, but they've done such a piss poor job of making everyone aware of the fact that
I'm sure I saw when they announced it, like how they do those, way ahead of time announcements. Yeah, in the years since then, I don't know that I have been reminded of it
literally a week or two ago in Washington, D.C., they held the World Cup draw to figure out who was in what group and where. And they made a big deal out of it. They had a bunch of different celebrities turn up. They had musical guests. Lauryn Hill, I think, was one of the musical artists. Everyone was bored out their fucking skulls because they just want to watch little balls be pulled out of a hat.
Random. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I have Lauryn Hill's album in my car, so I great album that she made 30 years ago, but strange pick for this.
Yeah, and then she got her son out on stage and was like, he's going to sing for you now, and I'm like, oh great, so now we get nepotism on top of everything else at the FIFA World Cup draw. Fantastic. I mean, he's not bad to be fair, but anyway, I'm getting away from the thread of it. I'm not even entirely sure what the thread was, but the World Cup is being pulled out of everyone's hands as well. As far as the things that I've actually done this week, I played a lot of Minecraft because, of course, I did. They released a new update, Mounts of Madness. Basically, you can ride sea creatures now, and they gave us spears and things like that you can use on horses. So that's a thing. But I wanted to talk to you specifically about an accidental double feature that I watched this week, one after the other. Genuinely did not mean to do this. But I watched the Thomas Crown Affair, which is the original Thomas Crown Affair from back in the 1960s.
Yeah.
And then followed it up.
Not the Pierce Brosnan one.
No. I really like the Pierce Brosnan one, actually. I think it's possibly the better of the two versions, but that's my hot take for the day, I guess. And then I watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger version of The Running Man.
Was this a first time, or had you seen it before?
Oh, no, I've watched this many times before. I love The Running Man.
Which is not a judgment. I've never seen it. So
oh, really?
I'm one of those people, that have not. I've seen the Edgar Wright version only.
I recommend seeing it.
I want to. I'm sure I'll like it. I mean, that's an era and a star and a style that pretty much is always going to be a slam dunk for me. So I just need to get around to it.
It's fucking good. It's funny how many of the themes actually carried over, despite them being very different movies. The central conceit is the same, that there is a TV show called The Running Man that you you take part in, but the way that the main character is brought into competing on it are very different, and everything around it is similarly quite different. But no, the reason that this was an accidental double feature was because randomly, when I was watching the credits for the opening of The Running Man, I saw a name. And it was a name that just stuck out to me, and it was a name that stuck out to me on the end credits of the Thomas Crown Affair as well. And that is an actor by the name of Yaphet Lotto, who is
this Lotto? Isn't it with a K, or is this a different person?
It is Yaphet Kotto. I've got a spelling mistake in my.
I was just about to say, are you about to blow my mind with like his secret brother I never knew about?
No,
that has a slightly different last name.
It was Yaphet Kotto. So he's in The Running Man, but also he is one of the gang members at the very beginning of the Thomas Crown Affair. So the beginning of that movie, Steve McQueen essentially is like this millionaire playboy guy who is bored with his life and wants to excite himself by committing crimes and shit. So he organizes a bank heist, which is undertaken by 4 or 5 guys who have never met each other before, literally meet each other on the job, and then go their separate ways afterwards. And it's all done with like pinpoint precision and clockwork timing and all of that stuff. And one of the guys that is on that crew was played by Yaphet Kotto. And awesome. Then in The Running Man, Yaphet Kotto plays one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's teammates when they are on The Running Man. And yeah, it was just so random that not only did I watch these movies back to back, but I noticed his name in both sets of credits, and because I'm not a credit reader normally.
We haven't mentioned it out loud yet, but I'm assuming that there's a thread here that you also know of, and that's why you're bringing him up.
Oh no!
Another movie he's in. No, I'm about to blow your mind,
Go on.
Dave. So this dude, great career. So he died, 2021. He died semi-recently. But imagine 1968, you're in the Thomas Crown Affair. Approximately 20 years later, you're in The Running Man, 1987. But there is a significant film in between those 2 points. So about 10 years after Thomas Crown, 10 years before Running Man. And that's how I know him primarily, is he is Parker in Alien.
Of course he is. Yes.
The headband, the bandana, yeah.
The moment you said Alien, I was like, of course, yes.
That's the connection for me. That's where I thought we were going, so this is a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
He's also apparently in Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, which I don't remember. I would imagine that's like a...
I would guess that
he plays like a
policeman or something in that one.
Something where they wanted an alien reference.
Maybe.
But career,
so
though.
had some fun with that one. It's funny how Christmas comes around and suddenly I'm like, no, I'm going to watch a random film today. And actually on that subject, I see Robert Cargill. I follow him on Blue Sky, and he's always putting out messages talking either about the writing process or movie suggestions for people to watch. And I got a movie suggestion from him, which I've not watched yet, but it sounds pretty cool. And it's a movie that came out in like 1940. Beyond Tomorrow, although it is also known as Beyond Christmas. 1940. 3 wealthy, lonely and kindly old men befriend 2 young people in New York City on Christmas Eve. After becoming fast friends, the 3 men die in a plane crash and use their last remaining time on Earth trying to help their new friends. And see Robert Cargill's review of it is 2 words, and they are fucking adorable. It sounded like a great film, so I'm going to watch that in time for next week, and it will be on topic because fucking ghosts, motherfuckers. So yeah, and hopefully I did a good editing job, so that was fucking seamless. But if I didn't,
if I was leading into that, so
yeah, if I didn't do a good editing job and everyone just heard the entire thing in real time, I really apologize terribly.
Fuck it, man. This is the Wild West when Andi's gone.
I guess,
do whatever
but we want
want
to retain some listeners for when he gets back, right?
I mean, we do, but for anyone who's listening to this episode and is worried by the 8-hour runtime, the final approximately 6.5 hours are silence, and we did that just as a podcasting middle finger to tradition and norms.
I like 8-hour runtime podcasts. What can I say? It's a habit of mine.
nice even number.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's it for me. What about you, David?
I've got a mishmash of things. I'll mention a couple of smaller things very quickly. Dave, did you watch the Street Fighter teaser? I mentioned this earlier.
I've not watched it. I've only seen screen grabs of E Honda.
So you should. I just got a text that threw me off. You should pull it up right now and play it as we're talking, because I believe that it's only. I want to say like a minute long. It's a teaser. It's really just like a tease, but just so you can see the visual style that's going on. I've watched this thing probably 5 times now.
Okay.
So
it
the Game Awards. Okay. The Game Awards were this past weekend, and they at one point had, and I've gotten pretty into watching the Game Awards. I think it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's an award show. It's also the video game industry. So when it comes to social media, there's lots of toxicity online about it. But I'm a pretty non-unjaded, I don't know what the word would be there, fan when it comes to stuff like this. Like I don't watch the Oscars every year anymore, but I really used to like watching those, and just like the as flawed as award shows can usually are, there's something about them that it's entertaining, I guess. And the Game Awards in particular are fun because they and I was talking to I think our friend Austin about this the other day. We're saying like, man, I wish the Oscars would do this too, where it's like we save big announcements and we save big reveal trailers and stuff for the night of the Game Awards. So the awards are happening and people are watching those, and it's fun to see speeches, especially from like voice actors and programmers and designers, people that usually don't get to hear from. And then on top of that, they'll be like, when here's a world reveal from this studio's new game that you've never heard of. Anyway, had a lot of fun watching it. But one of the video game connected, but not an actual video game things that they aired was this little teaser that I imagine you have now just finished watching.
Yes, I have.
So a little bit of context. There have been lots of casting announcements for this movie. So originally, and I don't know if this exact same version of the movie existed with this prior team, but for a while, the brothers who made Talk to Me and Bring Her Back were attached to make this film. And then they dropped out. The guy that came in, is it Kitao Sakurai? Something like that. I might be getting his name a little bit off. He is responsible for directing either most or maybe just all of the Eric Andre show, which if you know anything about the Eric Andre show, I'm a fan. It's very weird, very surreal, off the wall kind of comedy. Some people would just straight up not consider it comedy because it's so weird. It was an Adult Swim thing. But he also then made a film also with Eric Andre that was kind of a bad grandpa jackass with a narrative sort of movie where there were stunts and pranks and stuff like that they were weaving a story around. I think it was called Bad Trip. It was on it was a Netflix release, which I watched when it came out, thought it was actually pretty good. So that dude is now making the Street Fighter movie. There's been all of these casting announcements since he came on or somewhere in there, and they have boggled my mind at every turn because it has been one person after another who, with the exception of Andrew Schultz, I like or know of and consider fondly, but have also been like, why the fuck is this person in the Street Fighter movie? Not even for athletic reasons, but just like, what a strange, like, what the fuck is this movie going to be? And video game movies are in a sort of like, I don't want to call it a golden era, but for a while it was like I watched the Warcraft movie. Again, it's too bad Andi's not here. Andi loves the Warcraft movie, but I saw it back when it came out, maybe a year or so after it came out, and then hadn't seen it since then. Watched it with one of my best friends who has been playing WoW since the beginning, which was awesome. So I got to pause the movie throughout and be like, what's this thing? What's that? And he would tell me like, oh, this is a reference to this, whatever. So a lot of fun watching that movie. But the reason I bring it up is because at the time, it was successful, more or less, not successful enough to warrant a sequel, but at the time it was the highest grossing video game movie of all time, which is crazy now because we're into multiple movies and franchises that are bringing in billions. Obviously, they're kids too, so like Mario, Sonic, that's going to have a different audience. But even still, video game movies were a really hard nut for Hollywood to crack for some reason for a really long time. So we're in this kind of weird new era with it, where there's a Mortal Kombat sequel coming out next summer, and there's lots of franchises being juggled. Watching this trailer now, and I don't know how you felt about it, Dave, but for me, I was like, my reaction was twofold. One, this looks fucking crazy and goofy, and kind of stupid and cool at the same time. And then B, all of these casting announcements and updates make way more sense now. Like
Except
the tone of this thing. Well,
Except
sure.
for one.
But yeah, and we can get into that. But like just the tone of it, I was like, okay, I'm into this. I'm down.
Absolutely.
Like, let's embrace this in a weird, I wouldn't even call it ironic way. Maybe I would, but in a way where it doesn't feel. It doesn't feel like they think it's stupid and they're making fun of it. It's not like a parody, but it is leaning into it in this like weird Scott Pilgrim-esque kind of like over the top.
It's a straight up adaptation. They don't care.
Yeah,
like
there's
do
literally
not care
two
how
people beating the
stupid
shit
it
out of a
is.
car at the end of the teaser, which is
Yeah.
straight from the game. So I was pretty into it, man. I was curious
fucking
what your
crazy.
thoughts were.
I'm going to say right now that David Dastmalchian does. Oh my god! Like M. Bison should not look like that. I'm sorry, but he just looks like a. I don't know. He looks.
I love him as an actor. I think
Yes.
he's great.
Yep.
But that one was one of the ones that was harder for me, just because like the Bison I think of is a fucking like big stocky meathead.
I am
dictator
getting
asshole.
I'm getting Spaceballs vibes from him.
Right. Like this Malchian, while I think is an amazing actor and has great presence, doesn't fit the presence of Bison. Now,
No.
Raul Julia dying from stomach cancer in the old one. We remember that performance in that movie. Obviously, was cheesy and maybe not in an intentional way. I love it. I've seen it many times. I grew up watching it, but I would never call it a good movie. That is one of the things that people who even halfway like that movie do remember fondly. Like Raul Julia also wasn't this like big meathead dude, especially at that time in that role.
About him that
But he
just
brought
worked.
it.
Like
Yeah.
there was this. You felt like he was an intimidating presence, if not
Totally.
necessarily because he wasn't like a 7-foot meathead. Like the real M. Bison is, although M. Bison is cold and calculating as well. And maybe they're going more with the idea that Bison in the games was helped by his use of technology to enhance his fighting style, right? So
I believe it's his psycho power.
his psycho powers.
He
that's
calls
right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're exactly right. That's like both of these versions of Bison don't feel like they would fight. They feel like, and I'm not bagging on either of these guys' physiques. I'm just saying like they seem like more calculated, issuing commands from, a control room sort of villains as opposed. But in the game, like you fucking fight Bison. He's not in a cutscene. Like he's doing psycho crusher moves and he's fucking spinning around like a goddamn flying ballerina. Like he's a nimble man for how thick with 2 C's he is.
Yeah.
And yeah, so maybe Dastmalchian will pull a Raul Julia in the sense that his presence makes up for his acting presence.
It's possible because all I've seen of him is what everyone else has seen, which is him in a doorway throwing his cape to one side and crossing his arms while kind of having a bit of a goofy look on his face.
Yeah.
But then I'm looking at the rest of the trailer and just like fuck me, like the Chun-Li costume. Okay, yes, I'm down for this.
Dude, I'm into all of the costumes.
Oh, I'm going through this one thing at a time. I'm sorry, but
no, I know. I'm agreeing with you. Like, yeah.
Then you've got Zangief pulling a tractor. Sorry.
Yep.
And he's got the hairy chest and shit, and like the guy is fucking jacked. Whoever's playing him, like that. Holy shit, that's a great bit of casting.
Also, I believe there's a point in the trailer where you see him doing his spinning like suplex. He slams a dude on a table. I think that's him. At least that
Oh,
looks
it
like
might
his
be
move.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
50 Cent as Balrog.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. He looks weird without the beard.
That hairline's insane, but it's
The
awesome.
hairline's
at the same
insane.
time.
Yeah, they took all the hair off the bottom of his face and they slapped it on top, and he looks kind of weird. But I'm here for it because he's always been quite a big dude, quite imposing. So that works for me. Dalsim, holy fucking shit!
Yeah, he looks great.
So I'm not familiar with Vidyut, who is and that's probably not how to pronounce it, but he's the guy that is playing him.
I looked him up. I saw a lot of comments on the YouTube video of people freaking out about him specifically. So he seems like he's a beloved Indian actor that is in his filmography seemed stacked. It was also just a bunch of stuff I'd never seen or heard of.
And he's fucking ripped as well.
Yeah, looks, at least in his picture on Wikipedia, looks very different. So it seems like that was one of the bigger crazy transformations. Yeah. Whereas with other people like Cody Rhodes, where it's just like, we're going to comb his hair into a triangle, and then we're going to have him do a backflip, which I'm into.
Oh,
as Guile.
Yeah, I mean, Hiroki Goto looks great as E Honda. I wasn't expecting them to go full body prosthetic with him. They've not really. They've just given him a belly from the stills that I've seen
looks
of
good.
it. He looks great. He really does look great, and I love the fact.
I wish he had the face paint in the trailer. But there are. I think maybe at his poster he has the face paint, the markings, and looks cool.
Fingers crossed that will be the case. But I do like the fact that they've tried to cast someone from the correct ethnic background for all of these roles. They've not hit it on the head 100 times out of 100, but E Honda is.
I'm not a fan of Andrew Schultz, and that was one of the ones they fucked up because Dan Hibiki is a Japanese man, and they cast MAGA douchebag Andrew Schultz as him. But I will say, as much as I don't love that dude. Clips I've seen of his stand-up are funny. I've not every single clip I've seen, but a lot of them, maybe even most of them. I unfortunately saw a lot of him on podcasts before anything else, where I was like, this guy's fucking annoying and not my speed at all. Even all that being said, I can admit whitewashing. I don't want to say whitewashing aside. That's horrible. But other than the whitewashing stuff, not a bad bit of casting for Dan, who is a smarmy parody asshole kind of funny character in the games. But yeah, I would just prefer he not be in this movie, but I'll move past it.
That's fair,
dude.
enough.
One person that's not in the trailer but has a poster, Jason Momoa as Blanca.
Yes, I need to look up the poster immediately.
And then also fucking what's his name, Superman Punch, Roman Reigns as Akuma. There's some crazy, and he looks cool in the trailer. He's got the necklace with the giant balls and his fucking eyes are glowing. I wasn't joking at the top of the podcast when I said that I was so into Street Fighter I was obsessed with it. I loved it. I loved Mortal Kombat too, but Street Fighter was always my speed. I think a lot of it too was the first one I owned was Street Fighter Alpha 2 for Super Nintendo. And it was also one of the first, maybe even just the first, player's gamer guide. Those thick, magazine-sized strategy guides or whatever. And I owned the one for Street Fighter Alpha 2, and the amount of art, which was all manga, basically, manga style, I loved. I think that was such a big part of it for me growing up, was being able to see all of these characters. Mortal Kombat, I liked all those character designs and stuff too, but they also were leaning into that style of I don't even know what you would call it, where it looks like real people that they've kind of animated or whatever. Whereas Street Fighter leaned into the character designs and leaned into different styles and all of that in a way that really appealed to me as a kid. I think that's, now that I'm saying it, it's like I'm having a breakthrough in therapy. Now that I'm saying it, I think that's why this trailer resonates with me so much, is because that seems like it's been a priority for them with all of these characters. Let's really lean into their designs and embrace it. Cammy is in her full normal,
I love that
outfit in the trailer. Me too.
I've got it paused on that still right now, and the outfit is bang on. She's even got the camo leg stuff going on.
The ponytail, I've even if this movie's bad, I will love it. That's where I'm at with it. Yeah.
A serious film would not have that outfit in that way.
She'd maybe have the hat.
maybe.
and that's it.
But I mean, remember like Kylie Minogue in the original Street Fighter movie as Cammy, and they had kind of like a slightly more realistic, like she had the bayonet, but not the bayonet. What am I talking about?
The beret.
The beret, yeah. So they tried. Go on, sorry.
No, you go for it.
They tried to be slightly more grounded and realistic with it, but honestly, like if you're going to embrace all of the elements of what makes Street Fighter so fun, like Blanka, for example, then you need to just go full on. Like if you're going to have like the psycho powers for M. Bison, if you're going to have Blanka, if you're going to have the whole Dark Hado shit going on, then you kind of need to just embrace all of the ridiculousness. So beating up cars, I'm here for it. I just want to see the representations of all the special moves now, because you do see the light.
You see a bunch.
You see Guile's
flash kick,
yeah. You don't see the sonic boom, but I'm just really interested to see if they go the whole hog with the attacks, like the Hadoken, where you actually get like an energy ball, or if it's
a fireball,
or if it's interpreted more as kind of like just like a double palm thrust to the chest or something like
that. That's one of the things that's so interesting about the 1994, I think it's 94 movie to me, is that that was a situation where it felt like a movie that was trying to be faithful, also a movie that was embarrassed by itself, by what it was, and then also a movie that, as has been widely reported on and talked about, like they were just flying by the seat of their pants on. And didn't really know what they were doing. But it has this weird mishmash of that stuff where like Ryu, however you say his name, does a Hadouken in the movie. But it's kind of that. It's like what you just said, where it's like a double palm thing. And then they basically just put a couple of frames of full white light on the screen, like a flash. And then Ken at one point does a Shoryuken, but it's kind of just him doing an uppercut and then spinning. Like he's not off the ground or anything. So it's this weird thing of them like trying to reference, but it's also awkward because they're like, they don't have the budget, they don't have the time, they don't have like, and it's this, for me, especially watching it now, very endearing, nostalgic movie. I can totally watch that movie basically anytime and click into it, but not because I think it's good. If I watched it now for the first time, it would be a fun, ironic watch, but it wouldn't be something where I probably would ever want to see again. But because I grew up watching it, I was like, oh, that basically was Hadouken. Like this movie, to your point, I think feels like something where they're like, no, you're going to see a fucking sonic boom, and you're going to see Dalcium blow some fucking yoga fire. And like, it's I fully expect, based off of that teaser, that we're going to get, I liked the energy of the fighting too, where it was like, not quite realistic, but it
had some
like it felt
aspects.
Yeah, like it feels visceral, but at the same time, like the last shot of the trailer before the title card is Ryu kicking a dude in the air, and then Ken like roundhouse kicking him into a wall. Like it's very unrealistic, but also like kind of awesome at the same time. So anyway, I was very excited about this teaser. Oh, also I was gonna say, UFC fighter Alexander Volkanovski shows up in a shot in the movie, and Austin was watching at the same time. Austin's a big UFC fighter, and he was like, "Did you know he was in it?" Blah blah. I was like, I did remember that casting, but I couldn't remember who he was, and I didn't recognize him in the trailer or like recognize the character. And he is a deep cut. He plays Joe, who is in Street Fighter 1. So everybody really remembers and thinks of Street Fighter 2 as like because that was the one that blew up. But there was an arcade game that was just Street Fighter, and there are a bunch of non-player characters that you fight, and one of them is Joe, who is this United States karate guy. And so like that's another reason why I'm kind of like, it feels like these are the right people to make this movie. Like they're doing, these references and digging into the lore and everything. So anyway, pretty excited for this dumb looking movie, but in an endearing way. Like, like it looks dopey, but in a way that I'm like, I'm not a stoner like I used to be, but like, this is what I'm like, man, if I was, this would be movie of the year for me, for a stoner guy watching just dumb, dopey action movies. But even as a clean and sober man who meditates twice a day now and is on a different path, I'm still very excited. So
I think it's just I'm ready to embrace big, colourful, bombastic, stupid movies. Like Superman did a great job of kind of getting me into the mood of just let's just watch something that's fun and bright and colourful and embraces source material and isn't embarrassed about it and just wants to be a fun movie for people that want to see that movie. You know, like you don't have to cater to every single critic who thinks that you need to have this in a film and it needs to be done in this way. It's like, no, just do it in a way that people are going to enjoy. And then if the critics hate it, then great. If they don't, then even better. Like, you know, nobody cares. Interesting.
And if it doesn't work and people don't like it, like 10 years from now, maybe less, they'll do another one. There's another Street Fighter movie in between the one we're talking about and this one that people don't talk about or remember. Like, so it'll, you know, different interpretations. Sometimes they click, sometimes they don't. But I'm with you 100% on that.
And there'll always be the animated ones.
Oh, totally. Which I loved that animated movie as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
We've come a long way from the first X-Men movie, which I loved. Like that was a huge movie for me as a kid. But that moment in it where he's like, "What did you expect? Yellow spandex?" Where they're like, you know, laughing at the idea that it would be, you know, colorful and super heroic. I mean, you cut now to 20, 30 years later, and that same motherfucker saying that line is in yellow spandex in the Deadpool movie, and everyone is obsessed with it. Like
it was what it needed to be at the time. You know,
sure,
like I think if you made Deadpool and Wolverine and put it in cinemas 30 years ago, I don't know if it necessarily finds the audience it finds now. I could be completely wrong on that, but I just don't know that it would.
Probably not.
Connective tissue between Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. There's a shared actor between these two movies.
I saw that. If you go to the Wikipedia page for Street Fighter, this movie on my computer, almost every name is clicked. like you can see that it's been already clicked and it's purple. And I noticed that as well. She plays or is it Cammy or she plays not Jen? What's her name?
Yeah. So Mel Janssen played. Oh God, I don't have the character names, but she was in. Was in the 2021 Mortal Kombat. Yes. I'm scrolling furiously to find her name. She was
Julie.
Nitara.
Oh, I meant in Street Fighter. But yes,
yeah, she plays Cammy in Street Fighter, and
Cammy.
She's Nitara in this. So I think that was a reasonably minor character in that movie.
I think so. There are a bunch of people, including Goro, which is weird. Another movie from the 90s that I loved was the Mortal Kombat movie. He was such a bigger presence in that movie, and then he's in the newer one basically to get killed, which was always odd for me.
Yeah,
having remembered him getting punched in the balls by Johnny Cage when I was a kid.
Do you know, I enjoyed the 2021 Mortal Kombat, but it illustrated to me just how far away from the Mortal Kombat that I remember playing that series has gotten now. And probably why the Mortal Kombat reboot was so necessary, because the list of characters that are in Mortal Kombat over the years, like I was listening to someone who was kind of like doing a quick kind of test of like, okay, so here's a bunch of Mortal Kombat characters. 2 of them are real, 1 of them is fake, and every single question I got wrong. Genuinely, every single question. Like outside of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and possibly 3, if you had if there's a character outside of those ones, I would not be. I don't know who the fuck Nitara is. You know, like Cabal.
I'm assuming
I've heard the name,
she's
but I don't
connected
know.
to Katana and Melina, but again, like it's the same. Pokemon's the same way for me. Like I see Pokemon stuff now, and I don't recognize any of it. But you asked me something about those first 150. Like I can match your energy on those, but yeah, totally. And Mortal Kombat, I was literally just talking about this with my friend last weekend. Like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter for me growing up were very similar for me as Marvel DC, where one of them edged out the other one a little bit in terms of how much I interacted with it and liked it, but I loved both. Like, and Mortal Kombat's got a deep bench of characters and lore, like you said. Like they really go all out with it too. It's just more obviously fantastical and leans into the weird kind of like dark fantasy thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Street Fighter was like, this guy is an electrical powered beast from Brazil with orange hair.
I think it's an unavoidable aspect of fighting games that you have to continually introduce new characters, because if you just bring out the same game with the same characters and maybe you update the move list slightly, it's not going to satisfy everyone. But I think maybe the strength of Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat is that there have been 11 Mortal Kombat games, 12 maybe if you include the reboot. Whereas Street Fighter, like, there wasn't a Street Fighter 3 until 20 years, if I remember correct. No, it wasn't that soon. It wasn't that far away. But
it was a long time, because they got into the alphas.
We're only up to Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, it was like Street Fighter Alpha, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, and then it was a while before
there's been a lot
Street
of
Fighter 3 came
spin-off
out.
shit, but like numbered sequels, they've not made that many, and they've been careful to make sure that the core of the group is still Ken, Ryu, and Bison, maybe
Chun-Li.
Blanca, Chun-Li, Honda will turn up from time to time, but then they'll throw a few, and it's the same for me with Street Fighter. I genuinely couldn't tell you half of the characters by name. Like, I would recognize them maybe if I saw them, but I wouldn't be able to name them. Like, there's the schoolgirl who is from, she's got the same moveset as Ryu, but
it's Sakura.
Like,
that's my era, baby.
That's
That's locked in.
You named her, and I was like, shit, yes, that is her name, because I know what her name is. I just can't remember it half the time, and it's just it's one of those things. For me, honestly, Tekken. That was me.
Oh, I loved Tekken 2. Yeah. Well, I played Tekken 3 a lot, and then Tekken Tag I played the most probably when it came out.
Yeah.
Great game.
I think Tekken 3 was probably my biggest jam. Was that the one that had the bowling? I think Tekken 3 or Tekken Tag had the bowling.
Oh, shit. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah,
it
you did.
Holy fuck. Man, you just took me back, Dave. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
That's
I was
right.
all about the mini games with those. You know, like, I was so upset when they introduced Tekken on updated hardware, so it loaded quicker, because you could play a mini game before the game loaded if you pressed a certain number of buttons.
Yeah,
and it's just like, I haven't got time to play it anymore. It's loaded already.
As a kid, as previously mentioned, especially last week, that grew up in Brazil, Tekken always, I got excited because of Eddie Gordo, because he was like a capoeira guy. Capoeira, sorry, I'll say it properly.
He was fun.
Super fun. There's also a goddamn bear in that game. Like, it was a wild. Yeah. It was a wild time.
Yeah, man.
Man, fighting games. It's weird. I loved fighting games growing up. Anytime I've tried to play them now, I'm so bad at them.
Same. Yes.
I don't know if it's a rust thing. I don't know if it's an age thing. Probably a mixture of both. But I got into Dragon Ball Z Fighters recently because of Daniel, and I have just consistently, without fail, destroyed his ass. I give him zero mercy with it, but he's 9, so it's not like. And I'm able to keep my own against a 9-year-old, but that day will change. Like, a day will come where that flips. But that did scratch that itch a little bit, where I was like, oh shit, I forgot how fun these games are. But I know if I were to boot up an online match, it would be just one of the most humbling, embarrassing experiences for me ever.
Oh, same. But let me tell you something. Back in 2015, when I did the rounds and I saw you and Andi in Nuremberg, and then I think afterwards I went off to America to meet Felipe and the guys in Florida. We sat down one night and just played some Street Fighter, and bearing in mind, like, everyone else that was round there were into the fighting game scene in Florida, which is a fairly popular one, right? I was undefeated in Street Fighter, literally because I just picked Ryu and I just stuck to what I knew, because his moveset has not changed, and I don't know how. I don't know if they were going easy on me, but it started off as, oh my God, I got a lucky victory over one of them. And then it was like, okay, so Felipe's going to sit down and actually take it seriously and put me in my place now. Dude. And I beat him. And then I was like,
it's the best feeling.
I think I'm good at this.
Yeah, dude. Ryu, Ken, Guile, Chun-Li, those are locked in. I could pick a controller up right now and do all their movesets. Like, and then it also helped when, like, Marvel vs. Capcom, those games, when those came along, that extended it a little bit for me too, even though I had kind of fallen out of Street Fighter, but because that base, move sets and style and everything. I've been playing Cosmic Invasion lately, that Marvel side-scroller beat-em-up game that same people made Shredder's Revenge, that Turtles game recently, which is fucking amazing. I love that game. I'm a big side-scrolling beat-em-up fan. And one of the things I love about that Cosmic Invasion game is so much of it, a lot of the specials and like whatever ultra moves that they have are clearly directly choking on my coffee, directly inspired by Marvel vs. Capcom. Like you can see the same move sets, and like Wolverine has the same kind of, it's not exactly the same because it's not a Capcom game, but the influence is just so huge from that series.
Yeah.
Old Hideous Energy listeners will also know that Shuma Gorath makes an appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I believe. The patron saint of that podcast. It's a very old callback. All right. Let's shut the fuck up about Street Fighter.
Okay.
Andi somewhere right now is sensing the disturbance in the force that we haven't talked about.
Oh no, they've gone off topic again.
Very briefly on the topic of video games, I will mention I just got into a new game, multiplayer game. I had been playing a lot of Arc Raiders. I put probably like 50 hours into that since it came out. Had a lot of fun with it. It has gotten to the point now where it is just full of so many people griefing and being toxic that it's made me at the very least want to take a pretty extended break from it. So we had a 3 or 4 of us that kind of mix in, mix out with 3-player like games like Arc Raiders. We played a lot of the finals. I was like, let's try something totally different than what we've been playing. And I suggested Elden Ring Nightreign, which I'm sure you're familiar with. The spinoff to Elden Ring that is, when it came out, I was like, I don't really get why they're doing this. It didn't look bad, but also it was just an odd kind of choice. And then I read recently that they've kind of really cracked the formula with it, and people are really, clicking with it and all that. So also helped that it's like a $30 or $40 game. It's not, fucking $80 or whatever shit is now. And so got into that a few days ago and am really into it now. It's one that like you don't have to, but I have zero interest or intention of playing it by myself. But if you have 3 people, it's built for 3 people. It's so much fun. If you liked Elden Ring, it's like it, but also so different. It's very fast paced. There's like almost like Fortnite circle closing mechanic that's happening that you have to be aware of. You're constantly moving. And it's a roguelike, basically. So you're picking up, new gear and updates. Have you played much Elden Ring or From Software games, Dave? I always forget.
I've played some of the earlier stuff. I think it was Demon Souls that
Dark
I picked
Souls.
up. Yeah.
Okay.
And it punished me severely,
Sure.
and I've not been brave enough to go back to it since.
No, that's fine. I'm a big fan. I played Demon Souls. And I beat that one. I beat Dark Souls. I didn't beat Elden Ring, but I put a lot of hours into that. But then there have been some like Sekiro, which is one I always want to go back to because I thought it was great, but I was just consistently awful at that game. I could never click into it because it was so hard. This Nightreign has some of that for sure. Me, Austin, and our friend Trevin have been playing it, and we have gotten to the final boss, which is like a 40-minute run, is like a full run. So it's not like you're, hours and hours in. It's a roguelike. We've gotten to the final boss 3 times and have won 0. But we've also gotten a little bit better each time. So it has that sort of incremental, like you can feel yourself getting better at what's going on sort of thing from Elden Ring. But a lot of the like, maybe sort not grindy, but just like if you're building a class in Elden Ring, if you're working on a build, you have to pay attention to how, if it's a wisdom build, what your weapons are, if they're built off of wisdom, how they scale, like all that kind of stuff, which if you're into that RPG stuff is really fun and really engaging. But for a game like this, that would slow it down like crazy. So they take a lot of that stuff out of it to where you can just pick up weapons and not have to worry about if your class is perfect for that weapon. But then each individual character class has its own strengths and builds and special moves and stuff. So anyway, definitely more valid to bring up than Street Fighter because it's very much a dark fantasy horror kind of world. But yeah, really been enjoying that. And then very quickly, I mentioned Warcraft already. I got to see a movie in the theater that I had been wanting to see since I was 15. I mentioned this to you guys off air on WhatsApp, but the Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair cut is out and in theaters here in the States. Might already be gone now. I can't imagine this thing will stay in theaters very long, both because it is a new cut of a 20-plus-year-old movie, and also because it is 4.5 fucking hours long. So I can't imagine theaters are pumped that this is taking up one of their screens since they can only show it like at best twice in a day. So I was very excited for this. Back when Kill Bill came out, if you know anything about the movies and Tarantino, like he had it as one cut. Miramax Studio made him cut it into 2. They released it like 6 months apart. Kill Bill is my favorite. I've always cheated when I rank my like top 5 Tarantino movies and put Kill Bill as number 1, combining both, 2 movies technically into one, because I always knew that's how he wanted it anyway. But it's also just legitimately my favorite. I don't think it's his best, but I do think like it resonated with me in a ton of ways when it came out. I rewatched both of them a lot on DVD. I would have been 14 probably when the first one came out, and then 15, I guess, probably when the second one came out. And I've rewatched Volume 2 a lot as well, but the first one I watched all the time, especially the fight scenes, especially the House of Blue Leaves, Crazy 88 fight. And so even back then, Tarantino was very vocal about like there is a bigger cut, there is a one cut thing that I wanted to do. And there were differences that even back then people were aware of. That same fight scene that I just mentioned, like when the Japanese cut, for example, of the movie was in color, but in America, because of MPAA bullshit, they put it in black and white to try to tone the violence down, which is crazy because it still has all the violence, but whatever. And it was always known that this was a cut. He then had screened it at different festivals over the years, and then since he bought the New Beverly Theater in California, I think in LA, right? He airs it there like I don't remember how many times a month. And there have been times in the past, not recently, but let's say pre-divorce, when I had more money and means to do something like that potentially. I was like in early stages of planning a trip just so I could go there. I mean, I was going to do other stuff, but a primary reason for me going out there would be to see that cut. And so he did this short film in Fortnite. I think I mentioned that. And on a prior episode, and to promote it, and then the actual cut was in theaters. So I was so excited for this, like legitimately had been waiting to see it for like 20 plus years. And it was amazing. Like there are a few other experiences I've had in the movie theater that hit like this. One of them, coincidentally enough, was Grindhouse. When I got to see Grindhouse in the theater, where it was this spectacle that was like leaning into and embracing movies and fake trailers and title cards and 2 movies in one, intermission. I don't think Grindhouse had an intermission because it's 3 hours long, but Kill Bill, Whole Bloody Affair, this one did have an intermission, and I was just so into every second of it, dude. Like I had a giant smile on my face. Like it was one of those things where I was having to stop myself from like saying lines as they have, like stuff I would do at home just because I've seen it so many times, but I didn't want to be an asshole in the theater, so I wasn't doing that. But then when the intermission hit, maybe because I'm also about to turn 37, I was like, I can stand up and stretch my legs and go refill my drink. And like every movie should have an intermission, just like so excited about. And then people in the theater were talking, like you could hear conversations happening about other people that clearly were there that were excited about the film. There was a guy in our same row who heard Austin and I talking, and he was like, hey, you guys seem to know more about this. Like, was this in the original cut? And I was like, I can tell you exactly where they changed it. Like, it was just all of this like very positive, fun environment, and just like, an experience I'll definitely like cherish, because it lived up to all the stuff I was excited for, and then I was happy that no one was being an asshole in the theater. There weren't people talking. Like that's something that always stresses me out now the older I get, where it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like I don't want to have to be distracted by this guy on his phone the entire time, or this person that won't stop talking. And in fact, there was a woman maybe 5 rows in front of us who at various times in the movie was reacting in a way where it was like, oh shit, she's never seen this before. So then it became a fun thing of like, yeah, like sort of, she wasn't being loud or obnoxious or anything like that at all. It was kind of just
it's
endearing.
A cool thing to see though, right?
Yeah,
like
it was
someone
awesome.
Their first experience of Kill Bill is going to be what the director considers to be the ultimate form of it,
right? And this is slight spoilers if you haven't seen the Kill Bill movies and want to be go in totally unaware. One of the things in the original cuts is at the end of Volume 1, right before it cuts to the credits, you get Bill talking to Sophie Fatale's character, and he says, tell me, Sophie, does she know that her daughter is still alive? And it cuts to the credits. So then 6 months later, you could go see the movie, blah, blah, blah. That's gone in this cut. So you find out that Bibi, her daughter, is alive when she finds out. And it is such a better reveal, where she turns the corner in Volume 2 with a gun, and her daughter is there. So that stays hidden. Then there's also the Oren Ishii animated sequence is extended. I didn't know how it was. I knew that from the trailer for the whole bloody affair, there were anime shots that I had never seen before. And literally as I was watching that animated sequence this time around, there's the guy, her parents get killed. She's hiding under the bed. There's a guy in a suit who kills one of them. And then he does he fucking roundhouse kicks his cigarette into a bottle of whiskey and lights the room on fire. I remember thinking this past time when I watched it, they never say what happens to that dude. He leaves and then she goes and kills the mob boss, but you never see that guy again. And he was very directly involved with it. That's what the extended animated sequence is. So you see her kill him. And then in the original Volume 1 cut, it goes straight to her in that cool ass, red spandex suit on the rooftop with the sniper rifle before she assassinates that dude in the car. And that's the end of the animated sequence. Before we get to that, it cuts to that guy in the tux in an elevator, and there's a whole sequence there with her up in the elevator shaft and dropping grenades into the elevator. It's awesome. The same animation studio as IG, so the style is consistent. And anyway, we're already over an hour into this podcast, and I'm not helping it, but it was so great. It was such a fun experience, and just one of those that. It's also strange too because this past week Tarantino's been saying a bunch of dumb bullshit, and people are annoyed with him, and I think absolutely rightfully so. I understand from a perspective of I can talk shit. What was the guy a couple weeks ago? Gary Dauberman with Until Dawn, who I'm talking shit about him. I'm a fan. I don't work in the industry. I'm not. There's a reason I stopped doing Hideous Energy, the podcast that we used to do about comic books, because I started working in the industry, and it was all right, I can't have opinions publicly like I did, or at least not in this way, because these might be coworkers or
exactly. Yeah, you have to be aware of the standing that you have as, in the case of Tarantino, the standing that you have within Hollywood, and the damage that you can do to someone's career by saying that you think that they are not talented or something like that. It seems to have, I saw someone say this might be the first recorded example of uncancelling, and what they meant by that wasn't that somebody has come back from being cancelled, but that the guy's career is basically going to take off hugely because of something that Tarantino said. Yeah, Paul Dano is basically
I've seen a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Because everyone came out in support of him.
Yeah.
It was... Yeah, totally. So there's part of me that understands, especially that podcast. I didn't listen to it, but he said it on the Bret Easton Ellis podcast, a podcast I used to listen to. But Bret Easton Ellis is such a fucking contrarian baby. He's always complaining about shit on his show. As much as I like him as much as I like him as a writer, and I even liked his show, there are a lot of times he would have takes where I would be like, "Shut the fuck up!" Shut up. Yeah. So I think contextually, it made sense that they're both being bitchy and talking about stuff in that environment. But also at the same time, it's the quote I've brought up that Spielberg said a lot, said in one point about Shia LaBeouf during Transformers, where he was like, there's a time to share your opinion and there's a time to sell cars. Maybe say this stuff off mic would have been a smarter move. So I don't side with Tarantino on a lot of the stuff that he says or does, but at least for this movie, this kind of time capsule for me. I had a Kill Bill poster in my room growing up in high school. I remember buying The Truth About Cats and Dogs on DVD just because Uma Thurman was in it, a movie I did not care about, but I was just so obsessed with every aspect of Kill Bill, and I thought she was so cool. So it was very fun. It was a very positive, fun experience overall. So wanted to bring that up. All right, let's talk about what we're supposed to be talking about. Weirdly enough, and this is a segue I can use. There was a brief time. So before we moved back from Brazil permanently to America, that we came back. I don't remember why, but we came back for a week or two, maybe 3-4 months before we moved back for good. Maybe it was a little bit longer than that, but it wasn't a huge gap. And while we were here, I remember I went and saw a bunch of movies that I had been excited to see because there were, at least back then, and I'm sure still now, was a months-long gaps in between seeing a trailer and then the movie coming out, and then months later it would come out in Brazil because they'd have to do subtitle, all the stuff that they do. And so while I was in America for that brief period of time, I remember specifically I got to see Return of the King at midnight, back when they did actual midnight showings instead of like the Thursday night before. That was huge. A bunch of different movies that were coming out that I was going to see that I was excited about. One of them that I saw a trailer for was this movie called Underworld. And I was so pumped. Like, I was like, this looks so fucking cool. Like, all these shots of the trailer, like fucking vampires, werewolves, like it looks like The Matrix, which now as I watch the movie, I'm like, Jesus Christ, it looks like The Matrix. Like, they did not, like, what an influence that movie had that they ripped off, but we'll get to that. And at the time, Underworld had left the main theater run, but it was not yet on DVD. And I don't know if these really exist that much anymore, but there were budget theaters that you could go see. They would have movies that would play for $1, and they were prints of movies that were not in the theater anymore, but not had yet hit home video. And Underworld was showing at one of these budget theaters. So I asked my dad, because I couldn't drive, obviously, if he would take me to see it. We went and saw it, and I loved the movie. We'll get into that. But one of the trailers that played in front of Underworld was for a movie I'd never heard of, and by a director I'd never heard of. And in the trailer, it says the fourth film by Quentin Tarantino. And it was a trailer for Kill Bill Volume 1. So it was this weird thing this week, because that trailer blew my mind too. That's what set me on the path to then checking out Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown, and then Reservoir Dogs, and then Kill Bill Volume 1. So this week has been like a huge nostalgia week for me, where both Kill Bill Volume 1 and Underworld came out in 2003. All these little weird connections. I got to see Kill Bill in the theater, and then we're talking about it this week on the podcast. So a lot of nostalgia and fond memories for me playing into this upcoming discussion. So let's get into it, Dave. Underworld is a 2003 action horror film directed by Len Wiseman in his feature film directorial debut, from a screenplay by Danny McBride, not the same one, although that'd be hilarious. Based on a story by Kevin Grievo, Wiseman, and McBride. The film stars Kate Beckinsale, Scott Speedman, Michael Sheen, Shane Broley, Erwin Leder, and Bill Nighy. The plot centers on the secret history of vampires and lycans, which is what they call werewolves, short for lycanthropes, and revolves around Celine, a vampire death dealer who's hunting lycans. She finds herself attracted to a human, Michael Corman, played by Scott Speedman, Corvin, who is targeted by the lycans. After Michael is bitten by a lycan, Celine must decide whether to do her duty and kill him or go against her clan and save him. And I cannot state enough, Dave, how much I fucking loved this movie when it came out. I thought it was the coolest shit in the world. I saw all of the subsequent films in theaters except for the most recent one, which I think is probably the end of this franchise, Blood Wars. I in fact have just not even seen that one yet. So once we get to that for our series, that'll be the first time I've seen it. Bought it on DVD, rebought it on DVD when they came out with the director's cut. Director's cut had a comic inside of it. I found out Kevin Grievo is a comics guy. He has since written a lot of comics. He's also in the movie. He plays Reyes, the lycan with the seemingly not real deep voice, but actually is his voice. It's almost comical how deep his voice. Not even almost. It is. It's ridiculous.
I thought it was a put on. Yeah, it seemed like it was affected. Oh, wow.
I didn't go back and look, but I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure, like, that's just his voice. He's got a crazy deep voice.
That is mad. He's got a very big chest, so it must be rattling around in there for a while before it escapes.
Right. This was a surprise hit, cost $22 million, and box office brought in 95. And then, launched this series. A few years later, they did a direct sequel, Underworld Evolution, with the returning same director, writers, cast, etc. And then we got a prequel after that, Rise of the Lycans, or as I have called it in my friends group since college, Underworld, I'm Liking That. Pulled the McDonald's tagline. And then there was, what was it after that? Underworld Awakening, I think. I saw that one in the theater. And then Blood Wars. Pretty sure I'm not missing any there. Actually, you'll know, Dave. You bought all of them for an incredible price this week.
All but one.
On Blu-ray.
Yeah. So I got all except for the latest one for £4.50, if I remember correctly.
Amazing.
So thanks to the good people of CEX for enabling my my research for the week, because, and you're aware of this, David, because I already messaged you to tell you about it before I went out and looked for the DVDs and Blu-rays. If you want to watch the first Underworld movie, certainly, I've not looked for the others yet, in the UK, and you don't own a copy of it, you're shit out of luck because it is not available to stream
Streaming
anywhere. In fact, Just Watch searched over 1,400 streaming sites and couldn't find a single one that serviced the UK. So,
just very odd. Like, this is not a movie, but to our benefit though, when you told me that, I was like, well, the good news is if there's ever a franchise that you could probably just take a walk in your neighborhood and find a copy of it laying on the ground, like this is a prime era and franchise for there to be DVDs and Blu-rays everywhere for this movie for cheap. And then literally like a day or two later, you sent me a picture of all of those movies for £1 or €1 each. Pound? I don't remember.
Yeah. So it was like I think 3 of them were £1 and the other one was £1.50 because it wasn't in the bargain section.
And these were Blu-rays too. So
a couple of Blu-rays and a couple of DVDs. And literally it was just what was available. So I'm sure that there were DVD versions. You could buy it on Amazon, like the box set, but I think it was like £50. And I was like, look, I'm sure that David loves these movies, but I'm not going to spend that money on 5 movies that I might. I
own these movies about all digitally. I own the box set of the Blu-rays. I've owned the DVDs in the past, and I would tell anyone, don't buy the box set for 50. For 50. Like I say that as a fan of this franchise. This is like the happy side of the coin for me from our Resident Evil. I enjoyed our Resident Evil franchise series a ton, and there's some of those movies that I really like. But that's a franchise that even when it was bad, it was harder for me to watch because it was just like, ugh, like this is a slog. And honestly, I turned 37 in a couple weeks. At this age, definitely times watching Underworld this week, and I watched the director's cut because streaming wise it was like the main one, and the theatrical one was like lower quality, and the director's cut's not that much different. And I remembered what the differences were because I watched it so much back in the day. So part of it's that, but even I can admit this movie is not good. Like it's not a good movie. But yeah, let's get back into our normal rhythm. What did you think watching this now? I assume that you had seen this. Yeah. Yes?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen let's start with that. Which of the franchise movies have you seen already?
I'm fairly certain I've only seen the first one.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, I may have
You have at least one more that's fun.
Yeah, I mean maybe I saw 1 or 2 other movies in bits and pieces, but this is the only one that I remember. In fact, no, there's definitely one other movie that I've seen a bit of because it featured the return of a character that I thought was not going to return. Unless I'm imagining shit now, because I might be.
Michael Sheen?
No. We'll get there when we get there. If in fact we do get there,
don't worry too much about spoilers.
I think I might be imagining it, honestly. But no, I've definitely seen the first one because I remembered the end scene and the whole kind of like, oh look, it's the coming of the lichen vampire crossbreeding extravaganza. Hybrid. You know, like, oh good, blackface. This isn't going to be problematic.
It's blueface.
It's blueface. Yes, it's blueface. But yeah, no, it was. This is one that I am revisiting. So,
okay. How did it hit you this time around?
That's my review. No. So here's the thing. I thought that the acting at the beginning of the movie was so fucking stilted and bad, and like I'm not a hater of Kate Beckinsale, but I couldn't tell you another movie that she's been in outside of this franchise. And the thing I know about her more than anything else is that she's the daughter of one of the main characters from Porridge, which is a UK sitcom back in the day, based in a prison.
Another one of those sentences you say sometimes where I'm like, he could just be making up British shit. It sounds like it's probably true, but also sounds so stereotypically British that you could be fucking with me and I would have no idea.
No, so Richard Beckinsale played Leonard Arthur in Porridge, which was a sitcom from 1974. It ran for 3 seasons. There was an attempt to make an American version, but it didn't translate at all well.
I would imagine oatmeal is not it's catching of a title than porridge. That'd probably be their first change.
Yeah, well, it's slang for doing time in prison, so I guess.
Oh shit, is it? Okay.
Yeah, when you're doing porridge, you're doing time. So it didn't really take off very well in the US. So I don't think that American listeners or viewers will be particularly worried about not knowing what porridge is. But yeah, so her father was in that, and then that was. He died quite young, unfortunately. So she's kind of like taking on the acting dynasty in the same way that there are many other acting dynasties through the world. I'm trying to remember the Foxes, for example. Emilia Fox is probably the youngest of that generation. The Redgates. Is it the Redgates? I think it's the Redgates. Or the Redmans.
Redmaynes?
Redmayne. It could be Redmayne. But there's a few acting dynasties out there, and she is kind of like part of that in a way.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought that the voiceover felt a little bit stilted. She doesn't have to do much in the early parts of the movie, which is probably a bonus for her. She just has to look hot in leather.
She doesn't have to do much in most of the movie, Dave,
yeah.
Let's be honest.
I mean, just wear leather and rubber and you're good.
She doesn't smile a single time.
She doesn't, does she? No.
No.
Costuming is an interesting thing with this movie because I feel like if you told me that the Lycans were hunting down the vampires because it was easy to spot a vampire because they all wear leather and rubber, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. But the Lycans are so much better at blending in, and I feel like that's part of it, the reason, because they have to blend in more because they're being hunted. But maybe I'm giving costume...
their numbers are dwindling.
Yeah, maybe I'm giving the costume department a little bit more credit than they deserve. I don't know.
That's one of the... Sorry, go ahead.
No. I'll come back to it. Don't worry.
I was just going to say that's one of the things that is like weirdly endearing to me about this movie. I've used that word too many times in this episode, but where it's like they don't really give a fuck that so much stuff doesn't make sense. Just I don't even mean the vampire Lycan stuff, but just like we're clearly they make it seem like it's supposed to be, I don't know, everyone's speaking English, but like it's very clearly not in America, but it's in an unnamed city that to me at least very clearly looks like Europe. And then it's like the Crow city. Like it's always fucking raining. Yep. It's always nighttime.
It's always a thunderstorm going on at the mansion.
Right. And then there are normal people walking around and they are the ones that seem so out of place. Like it almost feels like The Matrix. And I don't even mean the vibe. I mean the literal Matrix in the film The Matrix, where everyone is kind of like, you know, they're in their routines because they're fucking plugged in somewhere else. Yep. So that's what the real people, like the scenes with like the scene where Michael is talking to his friend at the hospital, those moments with that friend, you're just like, what the fuck does this guy, must he think about the world he lives in? Because it is everyone, like there are gunfights happening with like Uzis and shit in the subway system by all these people in leather coats and like, but everyone is just kind of like, well, that's what happens. Like sometimes when you're out getting groceries, like there are these like goth gangs that get into fights. Like it's very weird, but the movie also doesn't care or do anything to try to, they're just like, this is the world. And it's weird because it simultaneously makes no sense, but then also kind of works because they don't even fucking bother to try to make it make sense. Yep. I don't know. It's very odd. As a kid, it was appealing to me because I was like, this is badass. But I mean, I was 14. As a 37-year-old, I'm just like, what the fuck is this movie? Like, but
it definitely
anyway,
inhabits its own reality. And I'm glad you mentioned The Matrix because I was going to mention that film today. Because
how could we not?
Well, this movie is made 2 years after The Matrix, and I think it absolutely shows. The leather and rubber, the gunplay, the fighting. Even the music.
There's no bullet time, but there's slow-mo where you're like, this was very, absolutely.
There were moments in this movie, and we all know that I don't pay attention to soundtracks normally, but I mean, it's got a banging soundtrack, don't get me wrong. There's some really heavy rock music going through this, which I'll always appreciate. But there were
some emotional dark metal.
Yeah, there were certainly moments where the strings hit, and I was like, "Oh, you've pulled this from the soundtrack of The Matrix." It sounds so similar, and I was just like, "If The Matrix didn't exist, I don't know that this movie does either.
What would it be?
In the same
totally
way,
agree.
certainly. Yeah. And that's not a slam on it because, movies have been inspired by other movies throughout the ages. And some of them have, if you want to talk about the picture houses that make movies that are basically rip-offs of the movie that's out in cinemas, but they name it something kind of similar, but not the same, like Asylum movies. Yeah, like they are a fucking pox. But even they, in comparison to some, are not too bad.
Oh, for sure. To me, it feels more akin to one thing we've talked about. And in fact, we've done episodes on these movies before with Andi, like Love in a 45, where there was a wave of Tarantino ripoffs after he showed up on the scene in the 90s, where it wasn't even studios like that direct as the Asylum. It was just people that were like, oh, I can make a movie like that. And so you had a lot of movies that were mostly pretty bad, but everyone always has one where they're like, oh, this is my favorite of that era, like Tarantino kind of ripoff. And this for sure for me is probably my favorite. Like, it's not The Matrix because it's not sci-fi. I mean, it's very much fantasy horror, but there's no, like, absolutely agree. There's no denying aesthetics, costumes, sets, lighting. Like, they're leaning hard into that, like, goth action thing.
Yeah.
That The Matrix, like, definitely, changed the landscape with. And I agree. There were points of inspiration before The Matrix for some of this stuff. It's not like The Matrix invented, goth subculture stuff or anything.
No, of course not.
But at least from a filmmaking perspective, yeah. I mean,
it's hard to ignore.
As a kid, it was a point that pulled me in, where I was like, I love The Matrix. I love how cool this looks like a horror version of that, and like monsters and creatures and shit. Again, watching it now, 20-some years later, I'm just like, how did they not get sued? Like, this is very blatantly just a ripoff of a lot of The Matrix. But
for sure.
Anyway,
also, I think you're bang on with the styling of the city. I didn't really put two and two together until a scene with a police car when I saw the number plate, and I was like, "Oh,
license plates,
that's not even a European number plate. That is specifically an Eastern European number plate.
Yep,
this is fucking Prague or somewhere like that. I think.
Right. Yep, I think so too. There's also, like, to me, the first hint is when they go down into the subway right at the beginning. There's a sign that says WC on it. We don't have. I know that means water closet, but we don't have.
That's
signs
a very
like
European thing. Yeah,
restroom. Yeah, or even just the little, like, symbols or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
and it kind of makes sense because this is an American and British co-production. They had an entire casting arm that was based in the UK. A lot of the actors that are in this movie are UK-based actors, British actors. Mentioned him earlier, but you've got Michael Sheen in here, Kate Beckinsale herself. Shane Brolly is actually from Northern Ireland. You've got Bill Nighy, famously a very British actor. And then
this was, by the way, the first time I saw any of these dudes. So Bill Nighy, well, shit. No, it was because I saw this before Shaun of the Dead. I would have seen Shaun of the Dead. Oh, fuck, did I? It was around the same time. It was either this or Shaun of the Dead, but that was my first exposure to him and Michael Sheen as well, who went on to have careers that this movie's probably not their favorite spot.
Amazing fucking careers
on the list.
I don't know. I feel like films like this are the films where you can enjoy yourself a little bit more. You can chew the scenery and the other actors.
Both great.
In the case of Sheen,
they
are.
Like,
they
I
give
think
good performances.
Both Sheen and Nighy, like, Nighy is very over the top in this. There's a few. There's that one part where she's talking to him and he's like,
yeah,
he just like kind of like does this weird throat noise. But Sheen especially, and it makes sense that the third one is his movie, is his prequel. Like, he has so much presence in this movie, and like he's able to pull off what his character is supposed to be, which is seemingly the antagonist, and then as the movie goes on, realizing he's not a bad dude, and in fact he's kind of a good guy, and he was fucked over, and that's part of the opposite basically of Bill Nighy's arc. But I think he's great. I thought Kate Beckinsale growing up was great in this. She's pretty bad. I don't think that she's good in this movie. But as you've said before, she just has to be a death dealer. Like she's not really doing anything other than being stoic and
there's not much stretching going on for her in terms of her acting abilities. And in fairness, I've looked up her career now just to remind myself, because she has been in several things that I have seen,
Tons.
like the Aviator, Pearl Harbor. She was in Total Recall in 2012.
Lots of romantic
I forgot
comedies.
all about that. So she
also directed by Len Wiseman, who she left. She was married, or either married to or with Michael Sheen during the making of this film. This is very gossipy bullshit. And then cheated on him with Len Wiseman, the director, and then left him for Len Wiseman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're not together anymore. But then, he made that Total Recall reboot as well, which I assume is why she was in it. I mean, I like her. Like I don't think she's a bad actress.
I don't think she's a bad actress at all. I think this is a bad film for her. I don't necessarily think this is the weird thing. Can someone give a bad performance and not be criticised for a bad performance if you think it might be down to the script and the director?
I think you can take it one further. Like, I love Keanu Reeves, but I think bring up The Matrix, like, I think he's someone that can kind of consistently in some ways, depending on the movie, turn in a performance that's not that great, but it still kind of works. You still kind of like him.
Yep.
So absolutely, I think so.
Yeah, because this is the thing. Like, I wasn't at any point in this movie taken out of it to the point where I was like, Jesus Christ, she is delivering such a poor performance here. She was giving a really okay performance. Maybe that's the aggressively okay thing is coming back again. But it was just like the voiceover at the beginning really set a tone which wasn't good. Like, it almost felt like they were doing voiceover work on the last day of filming. She just had to knock that one out to finish up, and whoever was in charge of recording was like, yeah, that'll do. And that was it. Like, they didn't look into... She sounded a little bored, honestly, giving that performance.
I would say significantly bored throughout the... and it's weird because I think you're right. It is... She's supposed to be... Look, as much shit as I'm giving her and being critical of it, I also thought growing up, and I still think this, that she is a badass, like, heroine protagonist. Like, you don't... Like, there's lots of parallels I think we can draw with the Resident Evil franchise, and that's one of the first ones right out the gate. Is that they both have leads that are badass women, like in these action movies, and that's something that's unfortunately uncommon, maybe slightly less so than now, but not much. And they carry the movies, and there's something about them that you're just kind of on board for, even if, because I like Mia Jovovich, like, she's not great either, but she's not bad. And there's something about it where it's like, this makes sense. You're this, like, kick-ass, like, I had an Underworld poster in my room too. Like, I thought she was, she's not as developed and well acted as the bride in Kill Bill, but there was something still there where I was like, you're beautiful, and also this like badass gun-toting action star. And she's never in this movie is a damsel. At least I don't think so.
No, she's
like,
always
she's never
in
need of rescuing.
Yep.
Yeah. Like Scott Speedman, until he turns into Michael, until he turns into the hybrid, like, he's the damsel. Like, he's constantly getting the shit beat out of him, needs saving, needs rescuing.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be too critical of her performance necessarily. I mean, talking to myself, I don't think you're being too critical, because like we've said, there's not a lot of range there on the page for her to take on. No. The role, the archetype, I think she totally nails. I think she
does. And I like that relationship, or lack thereof, between her and Craven. The fact that she is so very obviously not into him and doesn't want anything to do with him. And she doesn't even feel for a second that she has to follow what her society has set out for her as what she should do. Like,
in fact, one of my favorite points of that is they're like, put on this outfit, which she like doesn't even change her clothes. She doesn't give a fuck. She's zeroed in on what she's doing, which is cool.
Part of that is like, really, you want me to? You realize that if I want to get out of this outfit, I will need the baby powder, right? Like, there's no way I'm getting in and out of. Yes, like this rubber outfit, once it goes on, like it takes a couple of days to take it off and put it back on again. Also, there was absolutely nothing to that dress at all. It was just lace. What the fuck? So, like, she's being
one of the
Go on.
Yeah. No, I was to say that's one of the things about the movie that I also find very stupid and endearing at the same time is that whole, like, even down to the shooting range. It's like we're blowing apart like bus, like sculptures. Like most people would have like a paper hanging there with an outline. Like, no, we're blowing
it's very
apart
stylistic.
Like,
it's very stylized. Very, oh, look at us. We've got so much money that we can use these busts as targets.
Right.
And yeah, like going back to the wardrobe and whatnot, I think what I like about the wardrobe is that even though it is very figure hugging and very, for certain people, this movie should come with a free box of tissues and a private room. But for most of us, I would argue that while the outfit is set up to be somewhat alluring and sexy, it's not slutty.
I know what you're saying.
It's kind of practical.
It's not tasteless.
Yeah, like it covers everything. Like it leaves a lot to the imagination while also giving you the kind of structure of what that imagination should be leading you towards. And I don't think that the camera ever lingers on her particularly in a voyeuristic way. Like she's not objectified except for Craven, who very quickly is just like, fuck it, I'm moving on to the blonde. And good luck
he's
to
also
her.
presented from the jump as a piece of shit. Like,
yeah, he's
I'll also say, this is me talking shit. I think he's aggressively campaigning in this movie for the worst performance. I think that dude's pretty bad in this movie. And I kind of thought that even as a kid. Like I've never seen him in anything else. It's one of those things where I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's a great actor. And like this just didn't click for some reason. But man, almost every line in this movie that he delivers, I'm like, really? Did you have any other takes? Like it just doesn't, I don't know. He's somebody I always wince at when I watch this, where I'm just like, man, you're not fucking good.
I'm searching through his roles now, and I'm not seeing much that stands out to me. And like his Wikipedia starts with saying best known for playing Craven in Underworld.
Hopefully you're not listening, Shane, but if you are, I apologize. It wasn't my favorite performance, but I have not seen your full body of work, so fully think that this is not, indicative of your entire career.
To be fair to him, he's in several of these. He's in Evolution and Rise of the Lycans as well, although it's archive audio only in Rise of the Lycans, so technically 2 acting credits and a recording.
I also don't even remember... I do know. Never mind. I just clicked on it and looked. I was like, when does this motherfucker die? And I remember now.
Not in the first movie.
I very specifically remember. I can see it in my head, the shot that happens.
I thought it was interesting that it felt like things were being set up for there to be a big reveal that Victor was the mastermind behind the whole conspiracy with the Lycans. And then it was... then kind of like revealed, oh no, he had nothing to do with that, but he did have some other shit to do with Celine's family.
I noticed that this time especially too, that like for a movie that was a surprise hit and they clearly wouldn't have known going into it that they were going to get a sequel. And it makes sense that there's comic book connections with some of the writers too, or they went on to do comics, because it's and this again also makes sense as to probably one of the reasons why I was so into this movie growing up. It's a very comic booky movie. Like there's a lot of like lore and gadgets and powers and stuff that they set up in this movie, not knowing they were going to be able to do it. Because I won't spoil anything for you, Dave, but Underworld Evolution, the sequel, is a direct sequel. Like we pick up with Celine and Michael on the run. And Marcus back, like the dude that gets woken up at the end. He's the main antagonist, or one of the main antagonists of the sequel. And we go even deeper into all of that lore with like the bloodlines going back and the split between, werewolves and vampires. And it's all set up in this movie, which is pretty surprising, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I definitely agree with what you're saying there about how it has that kind of comic book vibe, because it definitely, although this shouldn't be exclusive to movies or comic books, it felt like this was a world where they had worked out a lot of the backstory including stuff that we weren't going to see in this movie. Like, they have a lot of history worked out, and the idea of, like, you know, that there are 3 elders and they skip centuries. They basically go and have a snooze while one of them is in charge. Yeah. And
then the flashback stuff with Lucian, is it Lucian? Not Lucian.
Victor.
Yeah. No, with Lucian, that's what I meant. Michael Sheen's character. The 3rd movie is that story. Like, it's a prequel and is that entire. That's why earlier when you said you knew an actor came back or thought one, I was like, was it Michael Sheen? Because he's the lead basically of the 3rd film, because we go back and see that thing that you see in flashbacks in this. That's what the whole movie is, which I've only seen once. I saw it in the theater and I haven't seen it since then, as far as I remember. But it was, like there's a lot of stuff that they drop in this movie, but I think it mostly works. Like I do. There were a few times, again, I've seen the movie a bunch of times, but there were moments here and there watching it this time where I was like, damn, they really are just like hoping the audience is along for the ride with all of this lore that they're hitting you with. Yeah. But I think it mostly works.
I may have glazed over a little bit when they were explaining the whole Corvinus thing and the fact that he had some disease or whatever the fuck, and eventually, like, he had 2 sons and one of them was bit by a bat and one by a wolf, and I was like, I'm not sure what the virus has got to do with anything. Basically, you're just trying to reunite the bloodlines again.
Right. Which is what they do. Which that aspect of the movie is one of the aspects that I feel like, you know, talking to people over the years with me as a fan, at least especially of the first 2, I would hear a lot of people talking shit about is like, oh, there's a hybrid and it's just he's painted blue, like he's like a blue guy or whatever. I always thought that shit growing up was awesome. I still kind of think it is. Like I love that scene at the end where Michael is fully hybrid and he's so fast that we don't even see him moving. Yeah. Like he's batting Bill Nye's ass around and is already in the places that he's getting knocked to. And
it's a brilliant way of doing that on a budget as well, not having to use special effects. Because this is a cheap movie. It was $22 million, which is insane, actually.
Very insane. And I think that there are times where you can feel the budget, but I think overall, for the most part, it looks pretty good. Like even some of the CG shots and stuff, like there are definitely movies from that era that looked way worse. So I feel like they did a good job of like kind of picking their moments. And usually it's when the lichens are transforming and their fucking snouts are extending and that kind of stuff. But then most of the time, once they're transformed, they're dudes in suits. And I'm into it. Like, it looks a little stilted and stiff, but I think especially if you're already on board for something like that in a monster movie, it works pretty well. But yeah, the hybrid thing, people talk a lot of shit. I think it's cool. I don't know what a better version would be, a hybrid vampire werewolf. Like, you're going to have to lean into one aspect or the other a little bit more. They both have fangs, so that's going to be tough to try to represent the vampire side.
You can't just be, it's a werewolf with vampire fangs, because it's basically just a werewolf then.
Right, and they both bite, so like there's enough similarities already that, like, if you make him slightly hairy, it's going to be weird. No, so I kind of always liked that they just did a new thing where it's he looks like a different thing.
I think the idea that they had, like, first of all, the fact that the lichens, they're never referred to as werewolves, they're lichens, and that gives them a little more license to step away from the typical wolven kind of look of a werewolf or lichen. They don't have to be hairy. So they're still canine, but they're not hairy, they're blue. So that means that I think they designed the lichens with the hybrid specifically in mind, because they didn't want him to basically just look like the Wolfman.
Right.
You know, a lot more human looking, but with kind of like hair all over him.
They always to me have like kind of an equine, if that's how you pronounce it, vibe too. Like the snout, they kind of look like jacked horses.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sometimes
in
a way
that
with
kangaroo
like wolf
that
faces.
You see. There's a picture of a kangaroo that always does the rounds whenever there's a story.
Buff as fuck.
Yeah, like the guy is fucking jacked. It's kind of like that, honestly.
You're right. I
also,
can see
like,
that.
The transformation scene where he goes full lichen and then it kind of pulls back. So his snout goes out, but then it pulls back in on itself. I like that as a little detail, and I don't know. You may be able to tell me for the other films that you've seen afterwards whether he has the ability to control how far he transforms one way or the other. Like maybe another time when he transforms, he can be more like, and other times more human looking.
There might be some subtleties. I don't remember there's definitely not a thing where it's like he's got different, he's got different modes or evolutions.
Yeah, like that's too anime.
One of the
one of the things on your asses.
One of my favorite things and least favorite things about the franchise is is him, because I like him in this movie. They definitely tease out the whole it takes him forever to get to that point, and obviously I think part of it's budget too. They're not going to be able to bring him into the mix early on in the movie, just for makeup and prosthetics and everything. And he also has his physique changes a little bit. He has this weird rib cage thing going on.
Yeah.
But the second movie, he's in that mode. And that's one of my favorite parts about the second movie, is that it's him and Celine, and they are enemies to both sides now. And so it's them having to have each other's backs toward all this other shit that's going on, and neither side is interested in accepting them anymore. So they have these cool fight scenes where he's fucking hybrided out, and then she's, badass vampire death dealer. After that though, and this always confused me. Well, not confused me. I'm sure there's an answer somewhere. Again, not any shade to Scott Speedman, not an A-list actor. I don't even mean in terms of talent, but he also is probably someone that if you click on his Wikipedia article, Underworld's going to be listed at the top. He's not known for a ton of other stuff, as far as I know. I could be forgetting something. The third movie is a prequel. The next movie that has Celine in it, she bookends the prequel, but she's not in the main story. They write him out. So in a way where it's they've captured Michael in between movies, and she knows that they have him, but we don't see him. And in fact, you only see him in that movie once or twice, and it's on security camera footage. And it's one of those situations where they shoot him from the back. They either shoot him from the back, or you see his face and they've superimposed Scott Speedman's face on this guy. He's not back for the movie. So as a hybrid character, I'm 99.9% sure he doesn't show up in Blood Wars or whatever the fuck it's called, the latest one. So I've always wondered, was it a contract dispute thing? Did they just not want to have him in the movies anymore and focus on Celine? That was one of the things for me that was always one of my favorite parts of the first two films, that it was very strange to me that they just dumped that and kind of got rid of it. Awakening, from what I remember, a big part of the subplot is that they have had it's all a bunch of shit in between movies. They've had a daughter at some point, and so there's a little girl in the movie that's Celine and Michael's daughter. And that's in the trailer and stuff. That's not a big spoiler from what I remember. But also, who gives a fuck? These movies are stupid. I love them, but who cares? So yeah, that was always odd. So I don't know if it was Len Wiseman moving on. He then, I want to say after Evolution, his next movie was Live Free or Die Hard. It was the fourth Die Hard movie, when they didn't reboot it, but they brought it back. And then he went on to continue to make much bigger budgeted action movies. And then the people involved in all of the sequels, I think Patrick Tatopoulos, who is a production designer, kind of very well regarded production set designer kind of guy, he directed the third one. So it was stunt and effects people, I think, got more involved once Len Wiseman was gone. Didn't he make something recently? Oh shit, he made Ballerina. I forgot about that. The John Wick spinoff.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I was excited about, where I was okay, a spin-off B-movie version of John Wick, Len Wiseman's the perfect guy for that. And I thought he did, I liked that movie. From what I read, they brought in other people to reshoot the action, so maybe he didn't nail it action-wise. But I thought it was a fun movie. So, yeah, it's a whole interesting thing, but I've always been curious about the Michael stuff, because he's set up very clearly as not co-protagonist, but secondary protagonist. And then, by the time the third movie rolls around, they dump him, which was always a bummer to me. So,
yeah, it seems like a strange decision based on the fact that the movie that kicks off the franchise is underpinned by the idea of him becoming this hybrid, and then the follow-up is the further stories of him and Celine trying to survive both sides. It's very strange, in as much, if you set this world up as being this movie franchise. It's all about Celine. It's not necessarily about Michael. Maybe don't have him be such a big fucking part of the first movie and then the follow-up movie right after. But then they didn't know what was going to happen in the future. So I don't know. It feels to me like they paint themselves into a corner with him as the hybrid, because even though he does go a little bit toe-to-toe with Victor at the end, it does still feel very much like he is well ahead of Victor in terms of power level. And that's a problem that they had to deal with the Matrix sequels, which is another reason why I think that they basically saw the money and were like, okay, we'll make more Matrix movies. I don't think there was ever a plan to expand it into a trilogy. I think that those plans came around after they saw how well the first movie did, and then they were like, okay, how can we turn this into a free movie event? And fair play to them, because, you know, anyone that has that kind of success, they're more than welcome to try to spin out further success from that. I did actually buy the free movie set because for years I very famously said among my friends, there is only one Matrix movie. There are no more Matrix movies. Then I saw the fourth one and I was like, oh, that was actually quite fun. And I thought, do you know what? Maybe I should revisit after, 15 years at this point. Maybe I should revisit these films. So I bought the Blu-ray set, and it's collected dust ever since. So I'll probably go back to that at some point. I never had a problem with them as far as action was concerned. It was just the fact that the plot felt like they railroaded themselves by having Neo become God, essentially. And then where do you go from there? Well, I suppose you have to create an even more powerful bad guy for him to fight. And that feels like a situation that they've set themselves up for here, where Michael is very much the most powerful being in this world now, and who the hell is going to have the power and ability to take him down?
From what I remember, they adapt pretty well to the stuff that you're talking about, in the sense that, like, and this might be because I've watched these, especially the first two and especially the first one, a lot. Like I can remember quotes from the DVD commentary for this fucking movie. Like I watched it a lot. When you were describing that, I totally agree. There's also part of me that's like, well, I think part of it is, this is me getting into the lore. I think it's because part of it is that Michael is very newly hybridized and is not fully in control, like doesn't necessarily know. And you see a little bit of that in the movie. There's a part where he gets knocked out of a window and he lands on his feet and he seems surprised by it. Like there's abilities that he's like tapping into beyond just being a normal guy. Then I think it's also that Victor is freshly awakened. He's powerful, but he's still like, he's not at his full thing, and he's old too.
Yeah.
Part of the thing in the sequel, from what I remember, is like Michael trying to kind of not fully learn how to control it. Like he snaps into it pretty quick, but there is some of that where it's like he has this like feral sort of fighting instinct that he can tap into, but he's not spent his life fighting and training like Celine has. So there's an imbalance between them in terms of but then on top of that, fucking not Victor, the other one, Marcus. I mean, he's on the poster, so I don't mind spoiling it. That motherfucker has wings. So he is and they say this in the movie, he is one of the original, he's like the OG vampire. Yeah. So he's one of the three of that line or whatever. He was the other OG
descendant, wasn't he?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other OG werewolf is also in the sequel. So there are like very like anime Dragon Ball is the analog I'm thinking of because it's most recent on my mind. There are definitely analogs there where it's like, now let's introduce these like heightened power level guys that are ancient and super powerful, and then you have Michael and Celine. Yeah. Right. You have them stuck kind of in the middle. And then, and I won't spoil the end of Evolution, I always thought this was cool. They escalate some of that stuff even more in terms of the world, and then especially in terms of one of the two primary characters, which I won't spoil, but there's stuff that like I was so excited for a third movie after the second one, because I felt like they really ran with the lore and were like, we're not gonna play it safe, like we're gonna change shit up. So then they made a prequel, which is, I was excited to see it at the time, but I was not. I wanted to see Michael and Celine's story continue.
Yeah, massive delay tactic.
So yeah. And then eventually Awakening comes out, and they kind of pick up on some of that. The world is changed, But a lot of those threads, like I mentioned earlier, they also just kind of fucking drop. So the Len Wiseman ones, when he was more directly involved, that and the other guys too, Grievo and Danny McBride, hilarious. They were more, it felt more focused. And then I think once that it started to become more of like a studio thing, and like how can we put out another very similar to Resident Evil, where it's like they're making enough money to make more, but it's not fucking Avatar. Like this isn't a worldwide success that everyone's going to see. So they're trying to keep budgets down, but still make enough. And it's I haven't looked at the budgets and the box offices for these movies, but I would be shocked if it wasn't diminishing returns across the board.
It almost always is. Yeah.
Right. And especially with a movie like this, and with Resident Evil felt the same way. I don't know. It makes me wonder if Resident Evil toward the end,
I think Resident
Evil
was kind of peaks and valleys. Like
maybe they had enough time in between movies that like it kind of reignited people's.
I think maybe the marketing
something.
for it was more effective to get people to see. I definitely remember some of the later ones kind of being trussed up and then making a big stink about the biggest movie yet and whatnot. I'll have to have a look at the financials for them, but that's my gut.
I can tell you for Underworld Evolution cost 45, so they doubled their budget.
Yeah,
and then it made 113 million.
Oh, okay.
So it did well. Then Rise of the Lycans cost 35, so it went down a little bit, but it made 91. So
not terrible.
Triple the thing. That's usually the thing people say for it to be a success. It's got to make triple. Awakening, I thought was going to be where it dropped. No, it kind of is. Somehow, I don't know if this is inflation. It cost 70 million, the budget, which I've seen that once in the theater. My memory is that it is not a $70 million movie. So I'm not totally sure where the money went for that, but it made 160. So that's slightly over double. So that's a diminishing return for sure.
Yeah.
That was in 2012. And Rise of the Lycans was 2009, so the gap started getting larger. And then 4 years later, we had Blood Wars in 2016. In fact, when did it come out? January 6th. So I had a 3-month-old. I remember that being specifically part of it, where I didn't go to the movies for a while because I just had a kid. And I was very wanted to be present and around, and I worked from home anyway, so I wasn't going to the movies a ton for a little bit there. And so I think that was why I didn't end up seeing it in the theater. It cost 35, made 81. So that was probably the death knell for, I would imagine if that one would have made a little bit more, then they would have been like, oh, well, let's make another one. Let's get the band back together. But that was the lowest grossing one. So
okay.
We'll make our way through all these as we...
Yeah, that doesn't
Andi disappears.
seem as terrible as I thought it could be. I thought at some point they might even bottom out to the point where they were making the same as they were spending. Yeah, or maybe even less. But especially the last one, because I feel like at that point, only really the hardcore fans are going to watch it. I don't know that it will have the same buzz that it would have before, but clearly it had enough people interested. Maybe they put it on at the right time of year where people were like, we want to go and watch something. What is there? And they're like, well, there's this thing. Oh, I remember that when I was younger. Yeah, let's go and watch that.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
And there's fortunately, probably because Resident Evil is more popular and has more movies, they have a table all together with theirs. So first Resident Evil, 33 million production budget, made 103 million. Then we go to 45 million for the sequel, made 129. Oh shit, they just kept making more and more money. Yeah. So that's probably why those lasted. I was wrong on that. By the time the third one came around, or the final chapter, it cost 40 million. They dropped their the movie before that cost 65, but they made $314 million worldwide.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those outliers that seemed to get more successful the longer it went on. And maybe it's the same thing as the Fast and Furious movies, where it was almost like every time you went to watch one, it just got bigger and better. And you were like, I wonder what they're going to do next time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why can't we get back to the first Resident Evil when she was just trying to steal a DVD player?
Fighting some fucking lasers.
Yeah.
Laser hallway. Yeah, it's and they also did a good job of pacing them too, probably looking at the release dates. Like they were always about 3-ish years apart. There's a bigger gap between that might have helped with that final chapter because the second to final film came out in 2012 and then the final one came out 2017. So there was, but they also did a thing that we were talking about too with video game movies and adaptations and stuff, where the further that series went on, and it's not like they ignored it completely. There was shit from the games right at the beginning, but it felt like by the time we were getting to those final ones, from what I remember, they were like, let's put the fucking this very specific enemy from the games in it, and like let's have Jill Valentine. Like they were really leaning into, all the game shit. So.
Which worked for them. So, like if you find a formula that works, you keep on going. And that explains much of Anderson's career.
Yeah, it's fucking no kidding. Also, weird thing, like a guy who's like found, like he's a more popular, it's weird to say, more popular, successful version of Len Wiseman. I really hope none of these people hear this podcast because it just sounds like I'm shitting on all of them. But also like has a connection with the lead actress of his films. Like there's a lot of kind of crossover parallels.
This is the thing. Like I wouldn't worry too much. I don't think that came across as a negative statement at all. I probably sounded a bit dismissive when I said, that's what he does and he makes money. But like, there's a talent there to.
Oh, totally.
If you're going to convince the movie-going public to spend their money to go and watch your movies after there's that many of them out in the world and they still want to come and watch more, that means you're doing something right. So,
yeah,
like
I would think and hope that people like Paul What Story Anderson and Len Wiseman, and I don't mean this in a shitty way at all, even though I just dunked on his name.
I was going to say.
I genuinely don't mean this in a shitty way. I would imagine
I gave you the ladder and you broke it up and used it for firewood in the bottom of your hole. I hope you're happy.
I would imagine and hope that they are guys who know, like, I'm not Christopher Nolan. Like, this is not the kind of filmmaker I am. These are not the kind of movies that I'm making.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's an audience, there's a style, there's a vibe. And there's a playfulness to all of them that I think that they aren't embarrassed by what they're doing, but then also at the same time know, like, it's not high art and it's not supposed to be. And we're having fun with that. Again, it's a very charitable kind of take, but I think in both cases, like, I'm definitely way more aligned with Underworld as a fan than I was with Resident Evil. But in both cases, I always had fun. Even when the movies were at their lowest points, like, I never wanted to turn them off. Like I was always interested in talking about them. Now, I will say with Resident Evil, there's a good over half of those movies I don't remember at fucking all. Like they didn't stick in my memory. But what they were as disposable entertainment, like
this is the
succeed.
Thing. I think that there are some people out there, and I don't think we're included in that because I think that we've got a handle on this. I certainly think that you do. There are going to be different types of directors and different types of movies for different types of audiences. And not every movie has to be Citizen Kane. It doesn't have to be the Senna documentary. You can make fun throwaway popcorn movies.
Two crazy pulls, but
I know,
I
right?
respect both of them.
But like, you can make a movie which is instantly forgettable, but that people have a great time while they're watching them. And like to come back to what you said about how Paul Anderson, for example, W.S. Anderson. Let's not get him confused. I think he's perfectly happy doing what he's doing because what did he do after he finished off the Resident Evil franchise? He talked to his wife and he said, "Do you want to do a Monster Hunter movie?" And she said, "Yeah." And they did. Yeah. And they had a great time doing it. And it was a reasonably... I'm not a Monster Hunter player. I can't speak for how it was taken by the fans. But I thought that it was a really fun throwaway movie that I spent a couple of hours watching and I was like, that was a good distraction, let's go and do something else. And I think that is what Paul W.S. Anderson and Mila Jovovich are really happy doing, is just making fun movies that people can experience at the time, live in the moment, and then go off and not think about them again. And if
I mentioned a movie earlier in the same episode that I absolutely loved growing up. That it was Paul W.S. Anderson's second film, Mortal Kombat. Like there's clearly a style. He did Alien versus Predator. Like that what you just described with Monster Hunter is not the only time that's happened. Where he's been like, we made that. Let's make another movie that's this same kind of like. It's clearly the niche that he's found, the niche, however you say the word.
It works for everybody. The studio makes a shit ton of money. The director makes a shit ton of money. Jovovich makes a shit ton of the money. And everybody that goes to watch the movie knows exactly what they've signed up for, has a good time, and walks away sated until the next one comes out. And if you want something a little bit more, something to get your teeth into, cinema, then, there's plenty of movies like that out there as well. So, you can go and watch 2001: A Space Odyssey and pretend that you weren't deathly bored by the kaleidoscopes.
Hey, I saw that for the first time ever.
Yeah,
recently in a theater.
Go on.
I loved it, but
yeah,
there were times where I was like, "This is a little pretentious."
Yeah, look, here's the thing. I'm not shitting on 2001. I think it's a fantastic movie.
No, I'm with you on this point.
Specifically, the kaleidoscope scene. I'm not worried about. I could get up and
at the
have
very
a piss
end
at that point. Yeah, like 20 minutes.
I told Austin afterwards. I was like, I loved everything about this movie. That was one section where I was like, all right, Stanley, I don't need to watch a Windows 95 screensaver collection for 8 minutes at the end of the movie. Yeah. Like, I get what you're doing. I get that it's other worlds.
Fuck out of it. And if people can sit there and enjoy it and take a tab of LSD and have a time of their lives, then that's fine. And I'm not meaning to insult anyone when I say that. I'm just saying.
No, but to your point,
different films for different people in different moods.
And even just, I was going to say, different moods, I think it can be the same people. Like,
for sure.
I had a great experience watching that movie, but absolutely different, not even different sections, different fucking zip codes of my brain were being engaged than they are when I watch Celine be a death dealer. Like, it's not the same. It's not the same place. So, totally agree.
Absolutely. The one more thing, because we spoke briefly off air while we had a bit of a technical issue, which hopefully people won't have noticed. But feel free to write in and give us your guesses for where the technical moment was. I really liked, and I know that this is something which is played around with by other people, and I don't know how far back in the lore this goes, whether this is something which traditionally was the case, or whether this was something that maybe the Universal monsters introduced, or maybe even this was something that Monster Squad brought to the fore. I love the idea that werewolves, or lichens specifically, are the guard dogs of vampires.
I like that too, man. I always forget about that part. He briefly mentions it. I probably forget because I've seen the prequel once.
Yeah.
Maybe twice. Maybe I watched it in college again and don't remember because that's what these movies are. But I forgot about that because he mentions early on that they were enslaved. So it was basically like the guard dogs for when the vampires are sleeping during the day. The werewolves would watch over them essentially and prevent them from being killed. And that's a pretty cool piece of lore. I don't know if it's the first time that's ever been done, but it's the first time I'd ever heard of an idea like that. And I thought it was pretty cool.
It feels familiar, but I don't know if it's familiar because I remember it from the first time of watching this film many years ago, or if it was from something else. Because I feel like there's this link between vampires and werewolves, but I can't put my finger on where it started. And it might be the Universal monster thing. I don't know.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, they obviously have roots in folklore and stuff too. So like they're just such old ideas and old, legends and stuff like that in general that, the amount of times there's, I'm sure, been crossover or similar ideas. And then also the other thing we haven't even mentioned, this, but the other big thing they're pulling from both in Celine and Michael, and then also especially Lucian's, is Romeo and Juliet. There's a whole kind of Shakespearean, two houses fighting kind of deal that they're riffing on or whatever. Also, I was going to quickly mention before, I don't know, do we do a double feature pick for this? The Matrix. They already did the double
Matrix.
Feature picture for us.
There you go. Take your pick. You got 4 of them to choose from.
I was going to mention. So Marcus in the sequel is played by Tony Curran, who has been in a bunch of stuff since then, and I'm excited to watch it whenever we get to it, because he has been, I think, seen many times by people in a viral scene from Doctor Who. He plays Vincent Van. Is it Goffgo? I always forget how you say his last name. Yes. That sequence. I've never seen the episode. I've never even seen that season of Doctor Who, but I've seen that scene so many times on social media because my dad has sent me that scene before because it's such a powerful moment where they bring him and let him see his work in the museum and
listen to people talking about how it affects them as well. Like that's what gets him, because he's standing there and someone is talking. I think it's a museum worker who's explaining the painting, and because it's the self-portrait painting, I think, or is it sunflower? I can't remember.
I think so.
And she talks about like how moving it is and all that, and like he's in the background and you can see he's got his back to them, but he's rolling a tear at the same time. And it's
he's deeply affected. It's a great scene. You're going to see that motherfucker with spikes on his elbows and wings on his back.
Hell yeah.
Underworld
two ears.
So yeah, at both ears. So look forward to that. Okay, cool. Let's wrap it up there then. This was super fun. I figured it would be a blast talking with you about this movie, and it absolutely was. It was fun revisiting it, and yeah, these, like we've already said, this particular itch that gets scratched with stuff like this is one that I always am down for. I love these sorts of things. It's also one of those things too that I was talking to someone last night about it, and she was like, I'll have to add that to my list and watch this. And I was like, I don't know how it would hold up now. Even back then, it's not really a good movie.
Add it to your Netflix, and if it comes up, then I guess if there's nothing else to watch.
She was like, I like cheesy movies. I was like, well, you might like it then. Like if you could snap into that and enjoy it for what it is, maybe in 2025, 2026, it'll work. But this was, I saw this also on the first girlfriend. Well, if you count 7th grade, where I had a girlfriend for a month and we didn't even hold hands. It would be my second girlfriend, but girl I was very briefly dated in Brazil. It was like my first kind of like serious relation. Like she was my first kiss, like all that. Like one of the first dates kind of thing that we did, which was in a group, was we went and saw Underworld. Because after I got back to Brazil from that trip, it then made its way and premiered in Brazil, and it was called Anjos da Noite, which means Angels of the Night. Much more dramatic name. And we held hands during the movie, and I would imagine she had a terrible time because it's not a great date movie. But I was very into it.
I'm thinking that Brazil might run Germany close for their money where it comes to alternative names.
It's not as badass because but they do, like, it's not, vampire werewolf suplex 8, or some crazy shit like that. But they definitely go rogue. I think I've mentioned Home Alone is called Esqueceron de Mí, They Forgot Me, which, doesn't roll off the tongue as well. And then Sleepy Hollow was something like As cabeças vão rolar, which means the heads will roll. So they definitely would go off on their own path if they needed to with movies as well. So
yeah. So I think it was probably just called Underworld or Unterwelt.
Okay.
Which is a shame because there's an older film listed here called Shadows of the Underworld, which is called Schatten der Unterwelt. And I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah, it's badass.
So, yeah. For anyone that's pining for Andy's dulcet tones, I can't quite manage that, but I can manage a German title for a movie.
A little bit of representation, yeah. Oh, dude, this is a Chris Farley show-esque observation. Another thing I always have really liked is how it reminded me, because there's like a very German doctor guy in this movie too.
Oh yeah, he's an Austrian
who does a pretty
actor.
good job.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't. He felt German, but I didn't actually.
There's
look
a
him
lot
up.
of like Austrian and German. They're geographically they're right next door to each other, so there is a fair amount of crossover.
I always liked that piece of screenwriting. It's very minor, and it's, again, I'm not like praising this movie, but I always really liked that piece of screenwriting that it's done in a way that feels pretty natural in the moment. Like Victor punches the fuck out of, like, kills him with a punch.
Oh god, yeah,
and then
marks.
That blood running down is what wakes up. Like, I always liked that little connective piece of tissue that they bring back in the end.
So
thought it was fun.
Here's the thing, and I'm guessing they weren't expecting that a sequel was going to be made for this. But it's interesting that Marcus's eyes open and they're blue like a vampire, and then they turn black like
they disappear.
Michael's did.
Yeah.
Like you remember when Michael first becomes a hybrid and his eyes go completely black?
Right.
And it's the same effect for Marcus. So I don't know if the original intent was, he's going to be a hybrid as well, because that's werewolf blood that woke him up.
See, I always...
And he's a
I don't know that dude's a werewolf, though. He might not be.
Well, he's a lichen
like a familiar
scientist, they call him.
Yeah. Or whatever it is for vampire or for werewolves. I don't know if familiar is the right word. But yeah, I always viewed that shot as less his eyes turning black and more that it like reignited him, and then it's not enough yet to completely wake him up, so it went back, like his like pupils disappeared, like they sunk back in.
Oh, because to me it looked like they clouded over with black.
It might be because, like I said, he is one of the like OG like brothers or whatever.
Yeah, so he would have the genetics to be able to coexist both.
Yeah. He is very much a bat. When you see in the second movie, like there's nothing werewolf about him. He's a fucking bat vampire guy. So
maybe
anyway.
that was his hybridization. He turned more bat-like. Who knows?
Yeah.
That was fun though. I did enjoy it.
Me too, man. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So yeah, tune in next time Andi is out, and Dave and I will go back to the franchise with Underworld Evolution. Very excited for that one. I would imagine that one's going to hold up less positively for me because I've seen it less times, but at least back in the day, I really liked it, and I thought it was like such a good, fun sequel. And if that holds up, great. It will also be the beginning of the decline going down after that. So yeah, but I'm excited to get into all of these movies and then to finish it off with Blood Wars, which I've never seen. So this should be a fun time. But listeners, let us know what you thought if you rewatched it or even just how you remember this franchise. Stay safe out there. Keep watching horror movies, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Wait. Oh, I don't know if we'll see you next week. Fuck. I don't remember. Do we have another episode with Andi? We do, right? I can't remember now.
I think maybe. I don't know. We might see you next week. We might see you in the new year. One or the other.
Yeah,
who knows?
if we don't see you next week, it'll probably be next year. Have a good rest of 2025. Maybe, or see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.